Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Tuesday, the 24th of February, 2026. I just completed my video that's going up tomorrow morning on Wednesday. I was going to include the clip from this video, but I didn't want to just slap it on the end of the video. There's two things I want to show you, and both of them need a little bit of, I want to expand on them. So this guy is Donnell Rawlings. I'm not sure who he is. And he was talking about how he didn't like how comedians now go on podcasts and go to their various places and shit on other comedians or other people. And Joe Rogan said, well, he agrees with them, but not with Cat Williams, because Cat Williams was exposing things when he did that interview with Shannon Sharpe, the now disgraced Shannon Sharpe, who was biting his girlfriend and shit, whatever it was, right? And so this guy was saying, then this guy said, yeah, but what do we do with that information? Like, Cat Williams is exposing things, but what do we do with it? Like, these truths that are coming out, which seemed weird. Well, it doesn't matter what you do with it. The truth is there. And so that was weird. And I'm not going to show you that. But what Joe Rogan says here is pretty fucked up, right? So he says this.
Something
I don't think most people are exposing. What most people are doing when they're being negative is they are jealous and they are below the person they're talking shit about. Like,
they're below? What do you mean below, right? Fuck you mean below, right? See, this isn't, I'm sure I'll be the only person that notices this, or at least I don't think people will talk about that. But they're below the person he's talking about. Let me switch over to a voiceover here. So Joe Rogan's saying that people who talk shit about other people, and some of this was about comedians, but also just in general. I mean, he's making a statement here that in most cases when people talk shit about somebody else, it's because they're below the other person and they're jealous. And when him saying talking shit was also just exposing things people did. And so his reference to being below was about people who are more successful, right? People who are, because he had a thing with, there's that guy, Mark, whatever his name is, Mark Maron, right? And he talked about how Mark Maron was happy when he had the #1 podcast, but then when Joe Rogan took over and got a better podcast, Mark Maron started talking shit about him. He did the same thing with Louis C.K., which I saw. He talked about how I heard Mark Maron talk about, he's not a funny guy. He's kind of, he's neither is Joe Rogan in terms of his stand-up comedy. But Joe Rogan's hierarchy of this idea that if you're more successful, people are below you, right? And, you could give him the benefit of the doubt and say that that's what he meant, like just in terms of that kind of success. But, it's kind of being this idea that all these people talking shit on the internet are upset and jealous, of all these celebrities and all these people who are above them, right? Like this idea that they're above, and he certainly thinks that he is above people because of his financial success and his, his popularity of his podcast and these other things. And he's kind of a kingmaker now. And he's got that whole thing going on in Austin, Texas. And, these idea that you're above people because of your material success. And, I've talked about this often, that Master Chargy said that the highest part of the lower, or the lowest part of the higher, is still higher than the highest part of the lower. Meaning, if you are a spiritual person, you're on a whole different level than people who are, the most successful people in the world. Like anybody who's doing spirituality, and you might be homeless, you might be a fucking loser, oftentimes you will be. People take vows of poverty, but if you're a true spiritual person, you've graduated from the material bullshit, and you probably were a king in a past life or some, something like that. So you had some kind of success, and you realized, holy shit, this sucks. This isn't why I'm here, and you graduate from that level. But it isn't this idea that everyone who isn't spiritual is somehow below you. Like you can, get that attitude just from frustration that the people who aren't spiritual, who aren't willing to embrace their spiritual nature, you get frustrated when it's kind of your job to help them do that and they're not willing participants. So, there can be this attitude that grows. But if you're truly a spiritual person, deep down that this is, there's levels to everything, right? And if you're, on a higher level than the majority of people, whatever it might be, it's a blessing, and it means that you have to do more service. And you have to humble yourself as that everything comes from God, and you can drop like a fucking stone, right? It happens all the time. And it happens to spiritual people more than anybody else. And so there's none of this idea of below, right? Like I said, you can't compare yourself to, people with double-digit IQs and don't have the ability for abstract thought. Like, it's great to, look at other people and say, oh, wow, look how bad they suck, and feel good about yourself, but you can't compare yourself to people who aren't on your level in terms of your evolution, right? But the criticism that most famous people get and celebrities get is because they suck, right? I mean, whenever you're successful, it depends on, the kind of people around you, but the majority of people, no matter what you're successful in, there's this element where people want to pull you back down. And also, when people get levels of success, their nature immediately gives them something to humble them, right? Constant criticism. Like, if you're any kind of success, it helps you not, it's something to your benefit. Because when you're successful, it's very easy. I mean, if you're materialistically successful, it's very easy to become arrogant and callous and look down on the people. And this is what happens to kings and all these people. You see that they get inflated sense of ego, and they start treating people like they're less than, like they're goy or whatever it is, right? Like they're not even, human beings. And that's really bad for you. And it's a hard thing to come back from, and you're going to have to suffer because of it. And so getting any kind of negativity is very helpful. It's helpful for saints. In the Sajmark tradition, the idea of illit, killit, and zillit. Slightly less money than you need, slightly poor health, and critics. Because those things all keep you humble, and they keep you moderate. They keep you, in a state of moderation. You don't overindulge because you have slightly poor health, so you have to be cautious about overindulging. If you can't spend lavishly on things because, you run the risk of you don't have the money to do so. And then, the critics help to keep you humble just because of criticism. So, all these things are a blessing. But the fact that he's saying, below you, they're below you, right? Just because you're successful doesn't mean you've really done anything. I mean, you've got something that's an accomplishment, but it's more based in your samskara and whatever your plan is. And, there's, I don't want to say luck involved because it's part of a plan. And you did hard work. I mean, if you do hard work, there is some, if you worked harder than some other people, you have a talent. I mean, that's great. And, that is an achievement, at least on the material level, and can be on the spiritual level. But you have to put it in its proper perspective. Anyway, so I just wanted to add that to the clip. Okay. So somebody sent me this. This is the second thing I want to get to. And then I'll leave the rest till tomorrow to make the rest of this video.
People think the world's gone to hell, that it's gotten so violent. But the world never got violent. There is no got. The world has been violent since the beginning. Cain killed Abel, man. Oh, shit.
Really? This way?
Cain killed Abel. The third person on the planet killed the fourth person on the planet. We weren't even able to make it to 3 people before somebody was a murderer.
Okay. It's kind of funny. It's an interesting take. But Jesus Christ. So this person, saying, I'm going to put this in the Journey series as well. This guy was telling another guy that how violent people are. We've always been violent because Cain killed Abel. And the third person killed the fourth person. And, we weren't able to make it till 3 people before we had a murderer, right? But where did the 5th person come from? Like, you dumb motherfuckers, you non-questioning, non-fucking critical thinking motherfuckers, right? Where did the 5th person come from? Okay, you had Adam and you had Eve that God just magically made. He made Adam and then made Eve out of his rib. Like, why not make you just fucking the way you made Adam, right? Like, there's a shitting on women, she's less than. Eve eats the fucking, there's just the 2 of them. They're chilling. And then Eve eats an apple. The serpent, says, hey, don't eat this apple and you'll get fucking, all the knowledge. And she brings an original sin, bitch, Like, so And then they start popping out shitty little kids, and the first one's a murderer. And he murders the fourth guy. There's no other women. So where did all the rest of the fucking people come from? I mean, you ever think about this fucking... And, it's part of your Judeo-Christian religion that you got a murderer number 3. And you got a bitch wife who immediately fucking eats the apple and tempts Adam to eating it. They're living in paradise, and then they have original sin, and all that's bullshit, right? Like, we were test tube babies, and there's been people a long time before. That's not the creation story. That's bullshit Old Testament stuff that you guys are taking fucking as the word of God. Like, you never question shit. And then, where'd the circumcision come from, right? Like, why'd God make you in a way that you needed an operation immediately upon being born? Why did God do that to you? Is that because of fucking Abel and Cain? Cain and Abel? And so, where were the other people? Like fucking, did God just make a bunch of people then? Let's make a bunch of, so there's no fucking inbreeding. You can't start with 2 people. Like, there's no, all right, let's repopulate the human race. We'll just need 1 man and 1 woman. Well, what's going to happen? There's going to be a lot of incest, right? You're going to have a lot of fucking, brain damaged kids. I mean, that's, that happens with every species. It gets down to a certain level of population, that species fucked. You get into the hundreds or the thousands of a species, and so many of these animals have the same genetic markers, and so you don't have enough diversity in your genome, and you have this fucking problem, right? And so I mean, science, their science is real to whatever extent. Like, good science is real, and you can't start off with just 2 fucking people. Why didn't God create a whole bunch of people right off the bat? Did God not worry about inbreeding? Did God not know about inbreeding? And so, I mean, like, to think that that's a legitimate story. I mean, again, you can use it as a fucking allegory or metaphor or whatever the fucking, various things that, or whatever way, a fable. But it's not fucking true. That's not true. That's not what happened. And it's interesting in that religion, in all these religions, that's the creation story. That's the creation story. Like, Eve is a deceptive woman. It, marks all women as being deceivers. The first woman was the one that brought in original sin, right? She's a lesser then because she's made from Adam's rib, so that fucks, women over in terms of their value. Immediately, that and she shits out a kid, and it's fucking, a murderer. And so, like, that's your fucking creation story. Imagine, why these religions are so fucked and violent. All 3 of them, right? These 3 shitty religions that come from this original understanding of God, and God's a real prick for, like, setting them up for failure, right? Like, God doesn't, help them out a little bit. They're innocent little people walking around the Garden of Eden, and he puts a fucking serpent in there with a fucking apple to tempt her with. And, she's going to wreck humanity forever because she made a bad decision, some innocent little, sinless girl. And she gets conned in by some serpent to eat the apple. And so, and it fucks snakes over too. I mean, snakes are, kind of wonderful animals, the non-poisonous ones especially. But they do a lot of good things, and they're a part of God's creation. And so people just need to start asking questions about your bullshit book, right? Like, from the outside looking in, there's lots of, you think about these other religions and you hear these strange stories and you're like, well, that's fucked up, right? But you got a lot of fucked up shit in your religion. And it begins and ends with foreskins and human sacrifices and the fucking creation story and all the rest of it. Anyways, all right, so I just want to get those 2 things in, why they are fresh in my mind, and I'll work on the rest of this video tomorrow. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Huge video today because of Trump's his State of the Union address, which is going to be hilarious and disturbing. And I got all kinds of clips, which I'll get to in a moment. I'll talk about that. We've got, good health update that I'll do at the end of the video. And there's this. So this was, somebody sent it to me, and this is just so funny. I want to start off with this. Then I'll get into all these Twitter clips that I saw before the short Twitter clips and memes and things. There's an Erika Kirk sighting. There's a lot of great stuff in this. So let's start here because this is really funny.
Ah, ça me termine.
I've seen this. I don't know how many times I've seen this.
Ah, ça me termine.
All right, so that's a good way to kick this thing off. Okay, so I'm not going to do a health update. I'm editing. Today's Thursday, February 26th. This video is going up sometime today, like 2 o'clock or something. I just don't have enough time. This video went so long with all the coverage of the Trump's nightmare of a State of the Union. But I'll give another health update in the video I make today. Just basically, I went to the doctor and I got a lot of the things I needed, and so I think I might even say that somewhere in here. So it's been a kind of a massive improvement, and I'll talk about that more in my next video. But here, let's get into this other stuff here. Okay, so yesterday my wife and I went to the holistic chiropractor, and I was kind of, I don't say dreading it, but I just wasn't into it. But I got what I needed. I had a really good session, amazing acupuncture session where I had like spiritual, kind of almost spiritual experience, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. But it was, it was kind of a neat thing that happened. I've been having this health stuff, post-COVID things and all this stuff, and I finally got that addressed, and I feel very confident in it. And I feel great today. I felt great yesterday after leaving. And my wife was there as well. And I was, I didn't do some of the things, and I'll talk about that also later. They have different things they have to offer. And so some of the things I sat out. And so I was sitting in the waiting room, and I learned that if I scroll through Twitter, there's all kinds of great little clips. And you start looking at good clips, and Twitter actually has an algorithm that gives you what you want, which YouTube doesn't. And so YouTube and Facebook and all these other, apps, they're still censoring. They're still saying, no, you don't want this, you want that, right? I've talked about that in the past. Where YouTube used to give you what you want. YouTube used to promote truth or stuff. Now they know what you're searching for, and they say, all right, we know what you're searching for, but we know better than you, and we're going to give you what we think you should watch, right? There are algorithms, and Google also, they suck that way, and at least Twitter is not doing that. And so I don't know if all these clips some of them could be AI. I didn't have time to check them, and I couldn't listen to them. I don't have earphones, so I'm just, pulling all these clips up. But we're going to go through them. A lot of them have to do with Israel and Iran and America, and let's start with, this is Jacob Rothschild's, right, the famous Rothschild's family.
In modern Jewish history, and it begins with 3 words. Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question because it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe, but they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was, after all, in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on.
These schools, these Rothschilds, right? The Rothschilds are, if you've seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut, which is a very disturbing movie, there was a truther who was great at symbology. He was like from Buffalo or something like this. And I saw a video, and the guy died, which is weird. But he watched the movie Eyes Wide Shut with a bunch of people, and they were all disturbed by it. I watched it with my ex, very disturbing. My ex was always triggered because of being someone who seemed like an MK Ultra person. She had been sexually abused in some way that seemed like she had the same symptoms as MK Ultra victims who had come forward, who were talking about this. She had the same kind of personality for configuration and things like this, right? So, very disturbing movie. And he explained why it was so disturbing. And there's reasons for it beyond what you see and the music and all the things. It was done by Stanley Kubrick. And the truth that's in it, because the symbology that's there is very heavy. And there's a lot of things that are like left unresolved, like leave you, not, Tom Cruise, it's kind of a very deviantly sexual movie, but he has all these potential where he's going to have sex, but he doesn't, right? Like this kind of thing. But there's all this symbology. And this guy from Buffalo explained it to everybody. And I guess he made a video about this, which I saw. And then he was killed. He just died, right? But it was supposed to be in their home. Like this, the Lord Rothschilds was supposed to be about that. The other part that the Rothschilds were, there's two old movies. And one was done in Hollywood. And one was done in Germany. And they cover this event. Both the movies end with the same event. And I've watched both movies. They're both interesting. They're old black and white movies. And the German one is better. It's just a better movie. The Hollywood one. And not because I believe the German version. But they don't dispute that this event happened. So they're fighting, I think it's the Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon's Waterloo. And there's a moment in the the end of the movie where it's told to people in England that Napoleon won and he actually lost, and the stock market in England collapses. Right, the bond market collapses. Like England is now because they've lost to France now, their whole government's being devalued, and the Rothschilds bankers had set up banks in every country. They set up banks in Germany. They set up banks in France. They were funding both sides of the war. And they don't, the American version doesn't cover that, right? But this one Rothschilds who was in England, he had this big, powerful bank in England. He buys up all the bonds, right? And then it comes out that that England won, and he becomes the richest man in the world and the most powerful. And he basically owns England, like he owns the fucking crown now. Like he can tell the king what to do, right? Because they own him. This is a Jewish family. And the American version, he doesn't know that France really won. He doesn't know England lost. He's just doing it because he's a fucking loving patriot, and he just wants to prop up England to make sure it doesn't collapse, so he buys up all the bonds. Does anybody fucking believe that? Like, does that just make sense? Like, what a banker would do? A guy whose, family grew up, I guess, originally being prejudiced against and things like that. And, do you think he would just sacrifice his bank to prop up England? Does anybody think that what, he would do? The German version is, and the story is, that he sent a writer that he was paying back. He knew that England had won, and he had a writer come into town and tell everybody England had lost, causing the collapse, which he bought up all these bonds, and then he owned England. So this is how fucking scummy this family is, right? And the Rothschild family, when they talk about them, that's what this is about. They, the richest and most powerful family, and lords. I mean, they tell the crown what to do, and they, all the stuff that happened afterwards, all the stuff that happened in India and in Africa, all the, the British Commonwealth, all those things came about with Rothschild's pulling the strings. So they created Israel, and this is what this video is talking about, right? So, Palestine was owned by England, right? It was one of their colonies.
My spectacles to make sure I read it
spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch
accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3,000 years to get to this. And then you say, how did this miracle happen? It's the most incredible piece of opportunism. I mean, if you think you had an impoverished would-be scientist, Chaim Weizmann, who somehow gets to England, meets a few people, including members of my family, seduces them. He has such great charm and conviction. He gets to Balfour, and he unbelievably persuades Balfour and Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and most of the ministers, that this idea of the national home for Jews should be allowed to take place. I mean, it's so unlikely. And then he's, starts to fight a difficult battle with the British cabinet, and this letter goes through 5 drafts, as you know. And in the end, it comes out as a rather compromising letter. I mean, the essential point is there for the Jewish community to fasten on to. You have the first bit, which promises a national home rather than the national home, and then you have the bit that nothing that's to be done should in any way harm the Arab.
Yeah, they forgot about this thing, right? So this thing didn't work out for the Palestinian people.
Community. But you come back to the big point, which is that this is perhaps the greatest event in Jewish life for thousands of years.
Yeah, or when Jesus was fucking born, right? Jesus. And someone pointed out, I think in my comments, or maybe my wife said this to me, somebody said it. Without Jesus, the Jewish community would not, the Jewish whatever it is, Jesus made Jewish people more famous. Like it's, that would have faded without Jesus, right? Like Jesus has kept the Old Testament going. I mean, in terms of what they did with the Bible, but also even with conflicts or the anti-Semitism, all those things. Jesus is, he's helped keep the Jewish people relevant, the Jewish community, which I thought that was an interesting point. All right, so let's start. That's a good place to start off with. Okay, so as I was saying, I was in the doctor's office, the waiting room, and I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I have, a number of these videos. So I got about 15 or 20 of them, and I can't fact check all of them the way I normally would because there's so many. Like, so I messaged these all to my wife while I was sitting there in the waiting room, so I would have access to them. I could pull them up here on the computer. So this is, I guess he gave this talk, which is alluding to, and then I think I have three things from his talk here. And this one is about AIPAC.
Greetings from Jerusalem. To all my friends in AIPAC, the first thing I want to say is, thank you, AIPAC. Thank you for standing with Israel. Thank you for standing with the American-Israeli alliance. And thank you for standing up for the truth. Now I know that's not been easy because over the past 2 years, we've all been subjected to a tsunami of lies, vilifications, vituperations that are reminiscent of the worst anti-Semitic attacks in history. I know you and AIPAC have been suffering such attacks. The American Jewish community and other Jewish communities have suffered not only anti-Semitic slurs, but also murderous attacks. And of course, so did we in Israel. We suffered on October 7th a brutal attack that was meant to destroy us, to wipe Israel off the map.
I can't believe this is real. And I think it might be. Right.
That's what the Iran Axis sought to do on October 7th. Iran's proxies sought and seek to annihilate the Jewish people, and their patron Iran sought and seeks to annihilate the Jewish state. But for the past 2 years, since...
Okay, so they weren't doing that on October 7th, right? So, that is a fucking fundamental lie. The reason that's it. So first, thanking AIPAC. So he's basically thanking AIPAC for controlling American politicians, because that's what AIPAC does. This lobby, which is fucked up. Like he's just out now thanking him. They've tried to separate AIPAC from Israel. Like they usually don't. They tried to downplay it, but now he's like, that's why I can't believe this is real. But I guess it is. I think this might be. And I'll check this one because because of whatever. But him thanking AIPAC is like a big deal. But what he said there is an absolute lie, that Iran was trying to destroy Israel, because what they did on October 7th wasn't going to do any damage to Israel. They killed some civilians, right? So that they weren't trying to wipe out Israel. But what they did do, and they're saying that Hamas was being controlled by Iran, which Iran would be stupid, would be retarded to have anything to do with Hamas, because he's already admitted, this came out with the Dave Smith debates that nobody disagreed with, that he went to his party, his political party, and said, we have to fund Hamas. They have to become our asset, because as long as they're controlling the Gaza Strip, there'll be no two-state, because nobody's going to get behind Hamas as the controlling government. So they were hoping, they were making Hamas be the government in Gaza. Like the Palestinian people didn't want Hamas, right? Like they were being propped up by Israel. It's an Israeli asset. And what October 7th did do is, number one, it got Israel to basically have this massive land grab and all the resources that are there in the Gaza Strip, more beachfront property, the massive amount of natural gas that's in the ocean that they're going to cultivate. And so they annexed this property that they've always wanted, and somehow roped fucking completely owned Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, into bombing, which we'll get into with we're going to go to the State of the Union after I get through these clips, because these clips are important to understand the State of the Union, what he's doing and what he's talking about with Iran. And World War III was going to commence, I think by Saturday. Like that's my, understanding of it. And so, this thing that he's saying here is blatantly false, because Iran is going to be wiped out because of October 7th. Without October 7th, Gaza would still be there, and Iran wouldn't be bombed. So, who's doing better, Israel or Iran, because of October 7th? Because, Hamas is an Israeli asset.
October 7th, we rolled them back. We fought a seven-front war against this axis of evil. And thanks to the incredible courage of our soldiers, we rolled back this threat to our existence and to our future. We battered Hamas, we hammered Hezbollah, we helped bring down the murderous Assad regime, we struck the Houthis, we attacked pro-Iranian militias, and we also attacked Iran itself. With America's help, we rolled back Iran's nuclear bomb program and its ballistic missile threat. That axis has been greatly weakened, but it's still there. It's licking its wounds. It still chants, death to America, death to Israel.
Oh, those chants, those fucking limp dick chants that with nothing to do with anything, right? Because Donald Trump's going to make an outlandish claim even for him, and completely owned, like he's, completely getting boned by fucking Netanyahu as he says this thing. Like he's completely serving Netanyahu on his fucking knees like a little cunt, which I'll show you during his State of the Union address. But Iran, just because they chant death to America, that's like 10 people. I mean, you can find radicals anywhere. Like, is it every Iranian, or just like, even if it's 1 million people, how many people live in Iran? Like 60 million or something like that? Whatever it is. Even if it was 1 million people, that doesn't mean shit if they don't have the ability to do it, right? A lot of people talk shit, when they don't have any way. They're completely, getting their ass kicked, right? They're outmatched. And I've said this since the beginning. The Palestinian people had no chance against Israel, never mind America, right? And the Iranians have no chance against America and the rest of the world. Like, all the whatever alliances they have with Russia and China. Iran isn't going to do anything. Everyone has, self-preservation tendencies, these governments, these people. And they're not going to do, they might talk big and they might, trying to make it sound like they're big men to their own people. Yeah, just to America, but they're not fucking. They're not going to do anything about it. They're not really going to try to kill America or Americans. You know, they're scared shitless. They know American, and Trump particularly, has got a hard-on for them, right? You know, and Israel-backed hard-on. Like Israel's the Viagra, you know, for their war hard-on, their war porn. And America has been whining with Trump particularly, and the neocons have been whining to get Iran, you know, get a regime change there more than any other country. And, you know, this is what they're doing now.
I appreciate the efforts that President Trump is making to ensure that those threats against both our countries do not reappear. We have never had a greater friend in the White House than President Donald J. Trump. And I want to tell you that I value the support of Americans from both sides of the aisle. I know it's been difficult for some, and I respect your courage, your honesty, the fact that you're willing to stand up against colleagues who sometimes bow their head to this anti-Semitism. You do not. I salute you.
I salute you. All right, there's more of this coming, I think. Unless I have this up like 3 different times by different people. I'll check to see if this is real. So this is real. Look at this double-faced motherfucker. Look at this. This is great. This worked out here. This is real. So this is a video that's up on AIPAC's website or AIPAC's YouTube channel. So he's addressing AIPAC and thanking them for, you know, taking American money, American donations, and turning it against America to make America subject to Israel, like being a subject of a parasitic country. And so I have this coming. I have more of this coming. I think I have 3 or 4 clips of this. And I could just show you the whole 10-minute thing, but, you know, these are the highlights. But this is right before, they're putting this video up right before the presidential, you know, the State of the Union. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to pressure Trump to announce that we're going to war with Iran. It's clear, and the people who are writing these, you know, posting this on Twitter, that's what they think. That's what I think. That's what probably many of you think. This is part of it. Like he's coming in with a hard sell here, right? Hey, Trump, he's trying to give him his marching orders.
Radical voices on the left spread lies about genocide. Radical voices on the right demand that Jews take DNA tests. Both are wrong, both are dangerous, and both must be confronted.
So, look at this fucking two-faced motherfucker, right? He's talking about Tucker Carlson saying that, you know, if you have this thing where there's this chosen people, then they should have allowed everybody who has Jewish ancestry to be as an Israeli citizen. But if what he said was that would mean that genetics would matter, and Israel had a famous case where if you were a person who was genetically Jewish, but you were not Jewish practicing your Jewish religion, you weren't allowed in the state of Israel. You weren't allowed to become a citizen. And so that's what he's referring to there. Of course, the genocide happened. And so, I mean, just fucking brutal, just lying right in your face in a way that's like, we own you, right? Like this is going to Trump. Okay, so there's more Netanyahu to come. I covered Alan Dershowitz, who was, you know, once considered the best lawyer in America. He was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, and he said that if he knew Jeffrey Epstein was connected to Mossad, he could have got him a great deal, right? That's what I just covered with him. Norman Finkelstein, I got a quote of something from him. Norman Finkelstein said this guy blackballed him. And Norman Finkelstein is Jewish, but he was pro-Palestinian, and this guy blackballed him, right? But he had this to say.
So I did absolutely, categorically nothing wrong. And, you know, that's what lawyers do, and that's what people do. I was introduced to him by the lady in Lord Rothschild.
Wow.
And I was told...
Wow, you're bragging about that? You're fucking You're bragging about... He was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by the Rothschilds. Like fucking... Like if that isn't an indictment, right? I mean, this is like what we know in the truth community and have known for a long time. That is a horrible statement. That's like saying, you know, that the Illuminati and the Zionists and the Jesuits and all, all these rumored whatever they are, came together. The sex offenders, the Jeffrey Epsteins, all these people, like all the bad people that come together. Like this is, if you think about how evil Jeffrey Epstein is considered now, the Rothschilds are considered far more evil and have done much more evil things, and have been in control and in power. Everyone thinks about, when I say the controllers, the number one family. You think about the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgan Chase. These generational wealth, the royal family. Nicole Kidman's family. They were like the people that owned more real estate than any other private people. Like they owned more real estate in Australia and other places. The Kidman family, right? And her dad was convicted of being, a pedo or some shit like that. He's a psychologist. But they have these real influential families, and the Rothschilds are considered like the top of the top. The capstone of the pyramid that's on the back of the dollar bill, that's the Rothschilds. And so this isn't something to brag about.
People do. I was introduced to him by the lady and Lord Rothschild.
Wow.
And I was told, he knew all the most prominent people.
Eyes wide, these prominent people are not, that doesn't, you don't get that everyone realizes these prominent people. Like this is Eyes Wide Shut meets Jeffrey Epstein. And this guy bragging like, I was with both of them, right? Okay. So this, I can't verify this, but wow, newly declassified CIA documents confirm our own government is lacing food, water, and vaccines with chemical engineered for mind control. This is not 4chan. This is why you're seeing this, because this person wrote this. I'm like, this sounds like you got some 4chan shit going on here. They controlled the news media. They control the media. They control you, what you eat and drink. This is directly from the CIA. So supposedly this is that. It says this study should include chemicals or drugs that can effectively be concealed in common items such as food, water, Coca-Cola, beer, liquor, cigarettes, etc. So I'm not sure. So this is from the Daily Mail. I guess they got this originally. I'm not sure what that is. Again, I'm not checking this out because, this is being done. I know it's being done. We all do, right? They're drugging us. They're fucking, fluoride, right? So, the conspiracy theorists were right again. Like the conspiracy theory community has nothing to brag about because, you got fucking played and punked in all kinds of different ways. And as a whole, there's very few truthers that can hold their head high in terms of their, ability to see reality. But, there's this bragging that goes on. But all those of us who've been around for a while have seen there's plenty of bullshit being put out there by the, whatever. But, at least in this case, most of us agree with this. Okay, so this is, I want to say Roger Waters. I should have looked at the write-up. So, what, just to complete what I was saying there, most of us agree that they're drugging us for mind control. Most of us understand the fluoride narratives and some of these other things. Okay, so Roger Waters has long been a pro-Palestinian people. Roger Waters is from the band Pink Floyd. I was always, a big Pink Floyd fan when I smoked pot in high school. It was, they put sound effects and, some of the things they did in terms of music are, they revolutionized a lot of these things. And then they have some of their older stuff you can listen to. There's an album, I think, called Relics. I still like that song, Wish You Were Here, and some of their other songs. I don't play them that much. But this guy's been pro-Palestinian for a while. So I didn't watch this, like I said, but I thought we'd give it a whirl.
Well, you have no right to be having this conversation at all. What you have to do now, Piers, is go and look through all the documentation that there is and all the video evidence that there is of those paramedic people lying about burned babies and rape and babies in ovens and all the atrocity stories that came out immediately.
What about the ones-
Excuse me, I haven't finished. Immediately.
Oh fuck! Are you okay, Pierce? That was great. Are you okay, Pierce?
That came out immediately.
What about the ones-
Excuse me, I haven't finished. Immediately after October the 7th, that gave impetus to the idea somehow that to commit genocide on the people of Gaza would be a reasonable defense against all those atrocities, which is the story that you, among others, have tried to sell to your audience.
No, I haven't.
All right.
I'll just try to get to the
I'm
facts.
sorry. I apologise for accusing you.
Do you believe?
Well,
Roger?
hang on. You need to look up Zucker. Look
Okay,
it up.
I'll look it up.
And then maybe we could have another conversation. Because
Okay.
Okay, so there was something on here, and I didn't choose to show it here because I didn't, whatever. But there was a woman saying, and I don't know if it was a video. I read the write up, right? I couldn't list, like I said, I couldn't list. I was in a doctor's office. But what the write up said was there were Israelis were sending boxes to people in the Gaza Strip of Palestinian skulls and other things, like all these, and there was just these atrocities. And the what the woman was saying in the video, they had the write up, the transcript, and what she was saying was, if this was the Palestinians doing this to Israelis, it would be covered by every news media network, and it isn't, right? Because there's something skewed here, and I think most of you guys understand this. But so there's that, like the lies and the for Benjamin Netanyahu to get out there and just say, the genocide is a lie. Fuck you, right? Fuck you, like I mean, it's an insult to all of us, and I don't give a shit about insults, but like we fucking know, motherfucker, right? We know, like everybody lying about this, we know, and you're a complete owned piece of shit, right? So this one, this has got to be the best one. I didn't see it, but I know what it's going to say here.
The truth is that Israel is not a burden to America. Israel is a strategic asset to America, as the American National Security Council itself says.
So this is like the guy living on your fucking couch and eating your food and leaving a mess for you to clean up and, doing nothing to contribute, but being a complete parasite, trying to mansplain to you why he's doing you a favor, right? Like, this is all of the fucking freeloading, people who are, not everybody on welfare and these things, the social system of food stamps and welfare are there to make sure people don't riot. It's there to give them just enough to survive whilst keeping them weak. And also it's a payoff to the food companies and these other things, right? It's the subsidies for, shitty foods, fast foods, processed foods, these things, right? And, it's people who are doing a parasitic thing, freeloading people who are, in a relationship where it's completely one-sided, where one person's a giver and the other person's a taker. And the person who's a taker coming out and saying, you got it all wrong. We're an asset. You're lucky to have us. Remember, who was that woman who ran for president, and she was the ambassador to the UN. I'll think of her name in a moment. But Lindsey Graham, and also this woman's from South Carolina. Jesus, right there, I can see her fucking face. Why are we? I've been having trouble with names lately. I always have trouble with names. I'm good with the other stuff, my memory. But Nikki Haley, and so it comes around. They both came out and said it's not a matter of America, what America's doing for Israel. It's what Israel's doing for America. Like, we should be grateful for all they're doing for America, right? Are you shitting me? Like fucking, they're a parasite. And this is what a parasite says. Let's watch that again.
The truth is that Israel is not a burden to America. Israel is a strategic asset to America.
Why do you, when you have to say that, if, the idea that it's now out there, he has to defend there being a burden. Because the truth is Israel's a fucking burden. But now he has to fucking say it, right? They're a parasite and an evil one. Like they're the fucking worst kind of parasite, right? But it's just like him coming out and said, we didn't kill Charlie Kirk, and we're not a burden to America, right? Like he's admitting to what they are, right? He's admitting to what they did, which was killing Charlie Kirk. And right off the bat, he's in 3 different ways. He went out and had to defend. No one in the official story was. Even Tucker Carlson wasn't saying that he murdered Charlie Kirk. So nobody, Megyn Kelly. The only people that were hinting at it were Candace Owens, but they weren't coming out directly. This is days after Charlie Kirk was killed, and so Candace Owens was still in her. My friend died and this stuff, and I don't know what she said initially. I didn't watch it, but everyone said she sounded more sincere than Erika Kirk did. Of course, Candace Owens is so annoying and fake too. But the reality of the thing was that, nobody was saying that other than people on the internet, like just random people, like people who are, not famous, nobody in any government. No one was going to investigate Israel. And he came out immediately, said that what a great friend to Israel Charlie Kirk was, and why would we kill him? But he left he said all these things about how, he invited Charlie Kirk to come to Israel. But Charlie Kirk refused. He left that part out. And he left out about all the way that Charlie Kirk was getting pressured and all the things he was saying when he was interviewed by Megyn Kelly and some of these other places about how, this meeting happened in the Hamptons. He left all that shit out, which made him seem guiltier because everything he said about Charlie was pre about a month before he was killed. Like he left out the last month of Charlie Kirk's life where he was starting to turn on Israel because his audience had, and, it was happening across America. And so he's coming in with this hard sell on AIPAC. We're not a burden. All right, this has to be a meme. Okay, let me try this one more time.
The truth is that Israel is not a burden to America. Israel is a strategic asset to America.
Thank you for your service. Now, last night when I was thinking about all these videos, I said I was going to do it for everyone. And starting with the Rothschild. So I missed out on all the ones I can't go back. I could, but I'm not going to. But I'm going to do it for the rest of these. And I'm going to do it I'm going to do it in Trump's inauguration. Hopefully I can stick with it. Because that's, I've had these great bits that I just forget to use. Like I'm just, but I want this thing to stick a little bit. But thank you for your service. Okay, so once I started watching those, all this other stuff came out, right? Like, so this is where I was like, oh, Twitter is really understanding what I'm looking at here, and they're really they're tailoring it to what I'm saying, what I'm looking at. So, and then it came all this stuff sort of here. This is breaking: Jews offended when their own words about Israel are read in public on the steps of the Met in New York City. So here it is.
We have to kill.
Here, this is the Jewish person here, walking by and giving the finger to everybody.
Excuse me. Learn something.
So this isn't Jews. This is one Jewish person.
Individual FUs to each of you morons. Moshe Feiglin, former Deputy Speaker of Israel's Knesset, said in 2024, quote, just as Hitler vowed to eliminate every Jew and said he couldn't live as long as one Jew remained, I say we cannot live in this land as long as one Muslim remains in Gaza.
Okay, so in their own words, Zionism, 1895 to 2023, an exhibit start here. Some of these people are Jewish. You can see, so they're not, that are up there reading these. This is the battle between Zionism and Jewish people. So people have to remember that, right? There's a lot of Jewish people who are anti-Zionists, and there's been this battle. It's like thousands of years, where like these, Jewish people who get it and are good people are battling the Zionists, and the Zionists always win, like historically, because they have all the money and power. Okay, so this is Norman Finkelstein. He's very New Yorkish, but he's one of the first people. He was a liberal hippie who somehow started to report on the crimes that were being committed. I mean, this is like the 60s, 70s, right? This is during the the hippie movement, and he wrote books about the mistreatment of the Palestinian people in Gaza, particularly. And he was blackballed, by that guy I showed you already, Alan Dershowitz, who was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by the Rothschilds and represented Jeffrey Epstein and got him that cushy deal and was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer and was also, not only was he the president of the hair club for men, but he also was a customer. So this guy is kind of annoying, but he did, and, Candace and Owens is really annoying. But their interview was worth listening to. My wife and I listened to it while we were traveling, I believe. And it's like, this guy's interesting. He's got an interesting life. But he is a Jewish guy who has stood up to, the Zionist community at his own peril, right?
The problem is not Netanyahu. The problem is the whole of Israeli society. If you look at the polls, half of Israeli Jews believe Israel should commit a genocide in Gaza. Wow. That's what the polls show. About 70 to 75% in polls say there are no innocents in Gaza. No innocents.
There's nothing but children.
Yeah. No innocents in Gaza, half of the population being Jewish. The former Israeli, or the current Israeli opposition leader, he said that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they kill children as a hobby. As a hobby.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of like how proud they are when they kill a child, and it's really dark. But also, I will say, you can see psychological conditioning, as in their viewpoints on the Palestinians, you can tell is being nurtured from the time that they're a child. And I ran into somebody who left Israel, moved to Tennessee recently, and I ran into him at a farmer's market, and he said, I absolutely love you, and I want you to know that we learn this stuff from the time we are children.
I totally agree with that.
He said, so he left, and he said, from the time we are children, we learn to hate. So he kind of broke a psychological barrier to get there, obviously, as an Israeli. But you are correct. I mean...
Okay, so they're not going to show... This is just a clip they put up on Twitter. But I just talked about the next piece of this, where Norman Finkelstein says, from their time that they're kids, they're indoctrinated to hate Palestinian people. They look at them like they're filth, like they're subhuman, right? Like the level of racism and prejudice and, the kind of stuff that, when you talk about prejudice and racism in America and these other places, which is always there, it's always there. And, human beings will always do this until we don't, right? People will, it's just a way of life right now. It's dividing and, people feeling superior. It's egoism as long as we have an egotistical, we live in the age of egoism instead of the age of the soul. Your soul doesn't feel that way. Your soul is, everybody's connected because we're not just people, but animals and plants and everything. Your soul knows we're all connected and we're all part of God's creation, and we're violating God's creation all the time. Just without even knowing it because of just how we're, this is the age of egoism. But this prejudice that they exhibit in Israel towards the Palestinian people is so horrific. And, now liberals are starting to get a hold of it and understand it, but it goes pretty much unnoticed. And then this other stuff that they talk about in terms of racism and prejudice, it's there, but it's nowhere near on the level of this thing, which is really like it's the kind of stuff that they were talking about with Hitler and these other prejudices, but now they're doing it to the Palestinian people, so they lose all moral high ground. But it's interesting that this clip was put up on Twitter, and I ended up seeing it because I was just talking about this like the other day, right, a couple of days ago. Max Blumenthal was the guy I was trying to remember the other day. His name just popped into my mind. It's like 2 videos ago, but I was talking about him and Dave Smith and this guy because there's Jewish people out there who, who are against Zionism. Like many of American Jewish people are against Zionism and against what they've done to the Palestinian people. So, you always got to remember that because it could easily go in a total, a hate direction towards a group of people that, themselves is divided on this issue. Okay, so that last clip was Rabbi Shmuley, and I might not even play that because there's music in the background, which easily get copyrighted, which means I have to edit the whole thing out later, and that just sucks. But because when they play music, it's just always a problem. In fact, I'm just not going to use that one because But Rabbi Shmuley was out there pushing for LGBTQ people for Israel, right? Saying that Israel's the best place for LGBTQ, all that stuff. He's a total piece of shit, that guy. But he's going to this protest so he can post videos, right? So this is where the protests are now being done so everyone can post shit online, right? The protests themselves aren't protests. It's a vehicle for people to get, views and get their message out on social media. So protests have become, if you get some action in there, all the better, anything like that. You get somebody shot like you did in Minneapolis, that's great for you, that kind of thing. But, the protests themselves don't really exist. They only exist in terms of people being able to film them, right? So that's where we are as a country. All right. So this is Newsmax.
You go to any church or government building, the cornerstone is most often visible. It's not usually buried in some dark subterranean corner of the foundation never to be seen. It is the stone from which the building springs upward. There can be no doubt, however, that the building that became Western political thought and therefore the free world was built on a foundation of Judaism.
Okay, so, if you're going along with the Old Testament like Tucker Carlson is, this idea that the problem with all this stuff that we're dealing with is Zionism, this idea that God can promise land to a group of people. And Tucker Carlson, he was making it more about, well, is it biological? Is it religious people? Who are the ancestors of Abraham? Because there's Islamic people who are ancestors of Abraham as well, right? Who, he raped his maid and fathered a child with her who became, eventually became the Arab Muslims, right? So, are they Semitic people? Because that doesn't mean just Jewish people. So, that's what he's trying to get at. But God doesn't promise anybody land. It's fucking silly. God doesn't make promises. The only thing that you have promised is God himself, like God, which is love, right? That's the only thing that you're promised. Like in death, I guess, to whatever extent in terms of your human life. But, other than those two things, there's nothing else that's promised, right? There's nothing else guaranteed. Like you might live a day, you might live 100 years. You don't get promised shit. And the idea that God will promise things, it goes back to like this guy David Koresh. Now, David Koresh was clearly had some spiritual tendencies. The guy was really good at interpreting the Bible. He was a good biblical scholar, good biblical reader, which he did, quite well, right? And there was lots of things that he did that were, that you could say were, were Christian in some ways or another. But then he had his cult stuff, right? He had his personality disordered stuff. And one day he comes to his followers and he says, God said that I'm the only one who gets to sleep with women. You guys can still be married to your wives and raise my kids, but I'm the only one that gets to have sex with them. And when you hear shit like that, it's not what God would say, right? God would never say such things. And, just based in, the idea of science and, you're going to have a group of people that are, all these kids that are going to want to intermarry that are all going to be related. It's bad on a biological level, like I was saying yesterday about the stuff to do with, where did the fifth person come from? If you had Adam, Eve, and Cain and Abel, and Cain murders Abel, the third person, the guy goes on a whole comedic rant about how bad it was that, you had a 66% chance of not being murdered by Cain, that 25% of the people were murderers, right? There's the statistics of the four people, but it's silly because that's not what happened. The Old Testament is a piece of shit book in terms of any kind of godly pursuit. And the religions that came from that are problematic. So yeah, it is the foundation of your religion, and it's fucked because Jesus transcended Christianity. He went to India, he learned some sort of form of yoga, he learned to meditate, he found divinity within him, and he brought back those teachings and he was killed for it. Because that's the kind of people they were there. And, that's the kind of fucking world we live in. And so, and then all this other stuff that they've built up around him and changing the story and manipulating it and all the things that they're doing has nothing to do with the truth, right? And so, you know, that's where we are as a people, right? And so, you know, this guy.
Without millennia of Jewish faith and struggle, there is no Christianity. The foundation is an often unseen and much smaller component of a building structure.
He brought out a pyramid. The capstone's the U.S. It's Judaism, Christ, Christianity, and USA. But Jesus learned about divinity through meditation and his own interconnection with divinity, and he transcended his religion. And that's what most Christians miss. You know, that's the one thing that's a great teaching, a Sizemore teaching. Buddha wasn't a Buddhist and Christ wasn't a Christian. You know, they transcended their religions that they came from, and they created a spiritual path. And then a new religion was formed. And these religions become problematic and block and usurp the actual teachings and position of the master of the system, right? And so, like, if everyone could hear that and understand what that means, they would change, the world would change, because they would do what Christ did, which was transcend your religion. It's a great thing to be born in a religion, but horrible to die in one. You have to at some point find divinity within you. And so it's a consistent message that I give you. And all this other bullshit is because of that. All these wars, all this manipulation, all this stuff, it's people claiming that they speak for God. Oh, God promised us some land. Oh, did he? He did that? He promised you land? Right.
But it is nonetheless completely indispensable. After thousands of years of war and diaspora, Israel represents the enduring presence of Jews in the Holy Land.
You mean since 1945? Because there's a hiatus there, right? When it was Palestine?
And the protection of that biblical history. Communists and Islamists understand the critical nature of Jews and Judaism to human society.
Communists are the devil. And they're trying to, it's communists behind all this stuff. It's not people who are tired of seeing their taxpayers go to a parasitic frickin' organization in a country, and and all the things that go with it. It's not that. It's not people are tired. I mean, this is your friend that spies on you and steals your secrets and murders you and attacks your, your vessel, USS Liberty and 9/11, all these kind of things, right? If that's your friend, right? If that's your greatest ally.
Fundamental. That's why they attack Judaism, not just Israel, and they want to see it erased from the Middle East. Israel is therefore not just a political jurisdiction. It is a representation of Jewish political, economic, and spiritual power that is related to Christianity and related to Western society and the free world.
Okay, so this is Newsmax.
The jihadists and the Marxists...
They have, they're quoting Dershowitz. Trump recast tariffs under something, article, whatever it is. But they're quoting Dershowitz, a guy who was Epstein's lawyer and Epstein's client, but they still think he's relevant, right?
Both know that a building unsupported by its foundation will crumble.
Okay, so that's their pitching. If you don't help save Israel, then America will tumble. And they're really threatening you because they're saying that once America stops backing Israel, then the people who are in charge of America and who are influential with money, power, and all these other things will just throw America away like a used fucking rubber, right? Like a used foreskin. And so, I mean, that's what they're saying, that, if you don't support us, we're going to take America down. Like there's a threat here. And this is Newsmax. This is a fucking news, like it's supposed to be a news channel. So this is an Israeli minister named Ben Givern. I've heard of his before. And he's walking into Palestine. We are demolishing here. We have documents. This is my house. I don't care. Jews are above the law. Where are we going to go? No, we are above. We're above the law. We will arrest you. There's another video out there where they're speaking in English, and there's a Palestinian woman, and she's pleading with this guy who's just moving into her house, right? And this happened a lot when there was the partition, but it's a video put it up by these people and Jewish people in Israel that are against the apartheid Palestinian treatment of the Palestinians, and so And there's a video where the Jewish guy said, look, if I don't take your house, somebody else will. So they can just go and take people's houses where he's doing here, and they're delivering it, and they're going to arrest the person, right? Jewish people are the landlords here. I've lived here since 40 years.
בוא, תראה, בבקשה, אתה חושב שאם יהודי היה בונה בתל אביב, היה בונה בבאר שבע, טיפסת, באותו רגע הוא... אבל אתה לא נתנת למנהל...
Where am I going to live? I have a family. All right, so it looks pretty like an accurate translation. I don't speak Hebrew, but you know, like that's what they're dealing with here, right? That seemed fairly accurate. Whatever it was, this guy was dicking over this guy. Like you don't have to speak the language to see that was happening. So Trump and his administration and a disheveled Caroline Levitt, the fake Christian Barbie truther, who, you know, I don't even make fun of anymore after Erika Kirk showed up and said, hold my beer. But you can see how they just start parroting what Netanyahu is saying here.
But what the United States is doing to ensure that not only America is the safest country in the world, but remains the strongest country in the world.
Does he consider Iran a threat that remains abroad?
Well, look, Iran chants death to America. So you tell me if that's a threat.
Yeah, it's not one. Like, again, they have to be able to kill America. Like, they have to have some kind of weapon and ability to kill America. Just because they chant death to America, they chant a bunch of shit in these countries, right? You know, there's like some of these soccer games and some of these games, these European sporting events. I mean, the place is a fucking, you know, I mean, there's this one I think it's in I think it's where Nikola Jokic is from, that country. So I'm not sure what it is. And they have like these two teams that play these rivals. And the fans bring like fucking M80s and throw them on the field. It's like fucking, and there's shit. They throw shit. I mean, it's like fucking real savage. There's plenty of countries where people chant death to their enemies, but they might mean it, but they don't have the ability to do it. And it's just them being in bravado. There's one guy, a Jewish guy, who was talking about, he was in Iran, and they were chanting death to America, and this guy was American, but I think he was Jewish American. And he went up and he was talking to these kids. Oh, you're from America? Great. And they started talking about how they love America and they love American culture. They said, weren't you just chanting death to America? He goes, yeah, that's just what we do, right? And so, like, that's not a fucking enough reason to go start World War III, this fucking cunt, right? But she's just parroting these Netanyahu. I mean, they're no threat to America, right? They're zero. They're a threat to Israel, but not really. And so we'll get into this with Trump because he just, I mean, during the State of the Union, he just shits on himself. So I had a YouTube video up of this on my toolbar, but there are so many of these videos that are popping on Twitter.
Breaking news from MS Now this hour about Trump-related files missing from the DOJ's Epstein files release. Let's bring in MS Now senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin, who broke this story. Also with us, our senior White House reporter Von Hilliard and MS Now legal analyst, former Manhattan DA assistant DA, that is Catherine Christian. And Lisa, you got this reporting. Walk us through it.
Well, Anna, one of the things I can tell you is that based on documents that are available in the Epstein files, and we're just going to hold up to you what allowed us to get to this reporting. This is an index of witness statements from people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were nonetheless produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to her 2021 trial. We also have a smaller one with respect to those who were expected to testify. And based on those indices, as well as documents available in the file, MS Now can report that there is at least one witness for whom 3 interviews with the FBI in rapid succession in 2019 are missing. You might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is that we can also confirm that that woman is the same person who in a 2025 FBI presentation is identified to have accused Donald Trump of a sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old. We know that based on a human source who has...
Okay, so, they erased these files. Of course they would, right? And I mean, this is how fucking scummy they are over there. But they had to. They can't let this leak, right? They can't allow this. Even if it wasn't true, it's what. I mean, there's so much evidence against Donald Trump already that this would kill him. So there's that. So this is an MMA fight. I believe a guy who I think is from Ireland. I don't know why he's wearing red trunks, but and Ireland, and then after he beats a Jewish guy from Israel, he dons the Palestinian flag. So so that happened. Like, this is, I know in Ireland, I think they're big supporters of Palestine. I think that's one of the countries that's very supportive. But this is what's going on, right? Like, I mean, there's, the people are rebelling. Okay, so this is about Erika Kirk. So we're going to show Erika Kirk at the thing with Donald Trump and the State of the Union, and she gave us another disastrous performance. But this guy,
Erika didn't choose this, man. She didn't choose this. Imagine sitting there in your house and you find out from Twitter or, I don't know, a text or a phone call.
It's a phone call based on her story. So you know nothing about this. You've done zero research. You're running your disgraced mouth here about something you know nothing about. Because if you knew anything about this, if you looked into it at all, you would know that there's various theories out there, and there's a bullshit thing about Fort Huachuca and all these things. But Erika's official story is that Mikey McCoy called her, and this is also to do with the shooting, that Mikey McCoy, all the suspicion about him. If you were like a real truther, which he tried to be for a little bit before he cunted himself when he was, the second in command at the FBI, right? Like this piece of shit. But we know how all went that. But we know how that played out. He was big into the Epstein files. He was big into the right-wing truth movement, the fucking QB shit, like it's the retarded, stupid shit that he was pushing. And then he folded like a tent house, and we'll talk about that in a moment here. But he knows about these theories. And people were wondering what Mikey McCoy was doing with his phone in his hand. And he was calling Erika second. He called somebody else first, I forget who it was. And then he called his dad after that. And Erika has said that's how she found out. And so, I know this stuff, and I know more about this shit than I really care to. It's a dead story. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it was it had interest while it lasted. I mean, people are still interested in it, but it's clearly not going anywhere. But if you're going to come out and run your fucking mouth, you should know, the basic fucking details, right?
That your husband was just shot in the neck for the entire world to see on social media at a public event. I can't imagine that. I know you can't either. Then you got to go through this.
Well, him saying she didn't choose this, she did choose to fucking tape her interaction with his dead body, which apparently she saw already at the hospital. So she had already seen him at the hospital when he was a fucking mess. They hadn't fixed him up yet. I mean, this is what the official story is. And then she decided to tape her. She dressed all fucking, she dressed up to the hilt, had her gaudy fucking jewelry, and then taped her interaction of her crying over his dead fucking corpse, which was weird as fuck. And then did this, had someone following around with a camera, and then she could have said, oh, wait, let's not post this. But she did. She posted it on fucking Instagram. And it was weird as fuck. It was like a day after he died. She's getting the body back. It's being flown in on Air Force fucking 2 with with Usha Vance and J.D. Vance. And she gets all this pictures, all this, hobnobbing with them, and Usha giving her a hug, and dear, dear Usha. Oh, dear, dear, sweet Usha. All that weird fucking performative shit. And then she chose to give a speech 3 days after he's dead. She didn't have to do any of that shit. And then for all the fake crying, she did ask for all this because she acted poorly. And it's really suspiciously and not real grieving. So everything she did, like, you can't see what she's doing and look at it and say that that's fake as fuck. Everything she's doing is bad, looks fake, and she keeps on doing it. And then coming out getting all fierce, and then lying about shit, and then all the stuff that she's done. Like, she's done a bunch of bad shit, right? Merching up right after he died, merching the fuck up in that gaudy fucking funeral she did, and the fucking sparklers, the fucking, all the fireworks, all the shit that she put out there, the smiling, the weird smiling, the dabbing her eyes, the fake crying. Like that, she asked for all of this stuff. Like, she asked for all the fucking smoke, right? Like, she didn't have to do any of that. Like, if she just shut her fucking mouth and cried and just said, look, I just want to be with my kids and, I'll start running this business, but I don't want to be a public figure right off the bat. But she started hobnobbing. She started to fucking network and try to, bolster her profile. She tried to take over, be a star of this thing. And she got fucking rolled. Like, she came out fake. People don't like her. It's like saying Kamala Harris didn't deserve what she'd got, right? Well, Joe Biden just went senile, and she was thrust in. She had to run for president. She didn't ask for this, like fucking she did. She asked for all of it.
And you got a bunch of absolute fucking lunatics.
Okay, so she's talking about me here. So I saw what he said. I didn't watch the video, like I said, because I couldn't. But they quoted him saying here. So he's talking about all of us. He's calling us crazy. And that's the worst thing a person that used to pretend to be a truther can do, is call people crazy for asking legitimate questions. Like, that's what they want you. That's what the establishment does. So you're an establishment fucking whore, right? You're not a fucking man, right? You're like coming in all like, here.
Sending her emails. You did it. Comments, tweets. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You demonic fucking scum.
All right, so let me respond to that for all of us, right? I don't like all this fake tough guy shit, or just tough guy shit in general. Violence isn't the answer. In the Sajmark system, we don't use force, right? But what I dislike more than the tough guy stuff and bullying and using force, using force is a big part of the problem. The Sajmark system doesn't use force. The transmission you get is called the forceless force. It's God's love. God's love is compelling. Love compels you. Like, love motivates you. It inspires you. It doesn't force you, right? Love doesn't force you. Forced love is like, a rape, right? It's a sort of, like whatever, different versions of rape, right? Something, that's twisted and, that's where you're forcing him. I don't like manipulation, force, any of these things. And I don't like, this posing like a tough guy and, violence and all this stuff. But these fake fucking tough guys, right? Like, they go, fuck you, like this stuff right here. This fake fucking little cunt here.
Tweets. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You demonic fucking scum.
See, that kind of stuff. You had a chance to be a fucking stand-up guy and a man. And I don't begrudge you doing that, right? I don't begrudge you caving because, like I always say, you ain't stopping this, right? I don't begrudge anybody selling out. I don't give a shit if you sell out, right? But if you sell out, stick your tail between your legs and go fucking hide. But, of course, when you sell out, you have to fucking go out and actually, if you're taking money or you're, caving, you have to go and fucking say shit about it. And that's where you fucking, that's where you're a problem. That's where you're a little cunt, right? Because let's say they threaten your family. Let's say whatever reason you have for doing this, it's more probably career stuff. They probably don't have to get to the family. But you had a chance to be a stand-up guy because you were on Epstein. And I didn't know this guy. I saw him around. He's some right-wing fake fucking piece of shit, right? These fake QB-type truthers. These fake right-wing truthers. Sure, that's just what they do. All right. But he had a chance to. He's quit. He's not even a part of the FBI. He was second in command at the FBI. He could have came out and said, yeah, I believe that this is a cover-up. But he didn't do that. He backtracked on all the things he said about Epstein, and then he said, oh, he did commit suicide, and all that stuff. And so you don't get to be a tough guy, because you could have stood up to those guys, right? You could have stood. You're talking to people who are, have no power. like all of us that are saying things about Erika Kirk's not going to be investigated. She's not going to go to jail. She's just going to lose, embarrassed. She's being embarrassed and losing face. She might lose her control over that company at some point. When they can get her out of there without causing too much problems. But she's losing the power that TPUSK had. It's the influence it have. But in terms of the rest of this stuff, she's not really going to be dinged up other than, her self-humiliation with her really bad fucking act that she did, which we'll get into that. And so, backing her and for a bunch of people who are just, can obviously see what's going on here because it's so fucking obvious that she sucks, and then be like, we're demonic scum? We're demonic scum? Well, you're a cunt, right? You're a sellout cunt because you had a chance to stand up and be a tough guy, but you folded.
For as much as I hate what just happened, I wish ill on no one, and everyone should restrain their emotions from the other side because they are not on our side. Everyone. Once you go down the road of violence, there's no turning back. There's always someone stronger than you, man.
Okay, man. Is that why your nuts got sucked up into your abdomen when they told you had to change your story on Epstein? They said, guess what? You got to go out there and say Epstein did hang himself. And he's like, well, I kind of didn't say that. I kind of said the opposite of that. And they're like, we don't care. Go say it. And you fucking went and you went like a nutless bastard out there and said, yeah, Epstein did hang himself. And there's no conspiracy here. And Donald Trump's the greatest guy in the world, right?
Always. There's a whole lot of people stronger than me.
Are they? So that's what you're just about? Your physical strength?
And I'm sorry if the language distracts from you, but I can think of no other New York way to say it than fuck you, motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers.
You deserve to feel the little licks of the flames of hell.
Okay, and so you're back in Israel, you're back in Erika Kirk, and you're saying that people who could see through this bullshit, we deserve the flames of hell? Right? I thought you didn't like violence.
On every inch of your body.
So you're saying you want us burned alive?
Fuck you.
No, fuck you.
If there's an afterlife, and I believe there is, I believe in the second creation. I don't pretend to be the judge and jury, but I know you're not in it.
You're not going. I know your guys aren't in it. All these other people, Netanyahu and Trump. I mean, Trump's certainly going to heaven, but you guys, for questioning the great Erika Kirk, you are all damned to hell. Take it from me, a pure fucking complete cunt, nutless sellout. All right, tough guy. Okay, so speaking of nutless FBI cunts, right? Woo! Okay, so Kash Patel was a defense attorney for like scumbag criminals in Miami. I mean, some of them might have been innocent, right? Because he was like an appointed lawyer, public defender. So he was a lawyer, and then somehow through his career he ended up working with the FBI as a lawyer, not as a tough guy, not as a field agent. He's a little weird motherfucker with fucked up eyes and a weird personality, and he's nerdy, right? He's not physical. And, he's got that weird girlfriend stuff. He's flying around on America's dime, and he is another person who reversed himself on Epstein in a way that's embarrassing. And he is not a hockey player, and America just happens to win a gold medal, and he happens to be there supporting them, and some of them are, more right-wing people. Apparently, they showed up at this State of the Union. There was a big fucking deal. Fox News made a big deal of the Democrats not showing up for these heroes. But this guy, would be the kind of guy these guys would bully, right? He's a little nerdy lawyer, But somehow this all thing comes together, and he embarrasses himself. Okay, so they might copyright that, so I don't know. But fuck these guys, right? This is just, you know. I had just watched the documentary about the Miracle on Ice, right? When the Americans won in Lake Placid. And I was in high school when that happened, and my high school was big into hockey. I played some pond hockey. I sucked at it because when you play basketball, you have your ankles for basketball and what your ankles need to do for skating are two different things. Like, you know, you get weak ankles from jumping up and down, whereas hockey, you need tight ankles or whatever it is. So I was like, you know, I got okay compared to the rest of the kids that played, but I was never good at it. But it was kind of fun, right? We had a pond. There was a tobacco field where they grew tobacco behind my house. Well, we built a half pipe behind my house with tobacco wood, you know, from these dorms. And then the other side, you know, we lived in a suburban rural community. And there was a development, and we had a field, like a shared field that everybody owned. And on the other side of that field was tobacco fields. Some of us, you know, I worked there. Like the kids worked there for $2.47 an hour. We'd pick tobacco during the summer. So I did it for 2 summers, I think. At least one summer, I can't remember. And behind that, there was a pond, and it would freeze solid. And like this time of year, we would play hockey. And, you know, I get okay. And we had a big hockey town, and that, you know, so I was a little bit into hockey at that time. Not a big fan. And, you know, it didn't stick. And the one sports team we had in Connecticut was the Hartford Whalers. But the Miracle on Ice was a big deal because it was, you know, amateurs playing against professional athletes, right? This was before they made it so that these amateur athletes could get money because Russia was already doing it. Some of these communist countries were funding their athletes. And Russia had this dominating hockey team. And America beat them in this, you know, which seemed a little bit suspicious now. But I watched the documentary about it, and, you know, these guys are all old now. It's kind of interesting. But now, like, you know, as much as that was a shocker and a big deal, and it was a time of patriotism, and, you know, Reagan and those guys were to the wall had come down, all that stuff, you know, that period of time, and the end of the Cold War and that stuff. And of course now we're so much more fucked. Like, you know, it's so much worse. And this guy's, you know, whatever. All right. That's Kash Patel. So this guy, Mark Levin. I forgot what he is to Trump. You know, he's a Trump person. And he is obviously a Jewish person, Zionist. And he was on Fox News.
What if we got the greatest deal ever from Iran? They're going to give up their nukes. They're going to give up their ballistic missiles. They're going to become Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. No more terrorism. That's right. They're going to reject their own Islamist ideology of the 7th century that they've used to indoctrinate others, that they preach every single day. That's right. Khomeini's going to become Mahatma Gandhi, and the world is going to have peace forever. Yeah, we'll sign that deal. Sure, we'll sign it.
So Donald J. Trump posted this on Truth Social.
Now, why would they sign such a deal? What if it's the greatest deal of all deals ever? Why would they sign it? You see, the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a matter of a deal, a negotiation, or diplomacy, or playing this thing out. Khomeini, the Islamist, Nazis have told us what...
They're Nazis and Islamists? They're both things? So they're Aryan? They believe in the Aryan Nazi stuff, even though none of them have blue eyes and blonde hair?
They're going to do. And they believe this is directed by God. And they've slaughtered...
Just like you believe that God has given you the promised land, right? Like you're saying that they're not directed by God, but you are? Like their thing is... This is what I was saying before about Tucker Carlson, all these people who believe that God promised. Because in the fucking shitty Bible, the Old Testament, you know, the Bible's not a great book, like I keep on saying. And, you know, you can't debate it if you look at what's in the book. And if you look at where other stuff came from, the discovery of the soul, I mean, there's things that predate Judaism, the good things that are in their religion. They didn't discover the soul. You think that some Jewish guy discovered the soul? You think that happened in Israel, in the Promised Land? They think that that's where the soul was discovered? when, where reincarnation in the soul was believed in India 100,000 years ago. I mean, so, even the good things that are in the religion aren't, the foundation came from India. If you're going to, mathematically, the concept of zero or nothingness, which is a part of every, understanding of the true nature of divinity. And so, these promises that God made, there's no promises. They're both full of shit, right? God isn't instructing, only from the standpoint of that God wants this war to happen, or the divine forces, because God doesn't want anything. God is, perfect. Like, everything happens for whatever part of the divine plan. But there are divine beings that work for God that make things happen. Reading the whatever God's will is, because God doesn't have a mind, doesn't think up things. Human beings create narratives and stories and egos, where God is just perfect, right? And so the only reason would be to destroy this current system, which I know God, and for lack of a better word, wants. Like, God doesn't want anything, but it's part of God's will, right? That this system, inevitably, an evil system, a demonic system, has to be destroyed. I mean, everything has to die anyway, but specifically these things that go against the divine will. And so all the people that are doing this are, in a sense, doing God's will, but not for the reasons that they think, right? So they're not, they can't be excused for their behavior just because it lines up with God's will accidentally, right?
Ordered tens of thousands of their own people in the last few weeks, over the years, in order to advance this agenda. Do you think signing a deal is going to stop anything? Do you think they're going to honor the deal? The issue isn't whether we negotiate. The question is, why do we negotiate?
Because, Israel is such a believable, they'll make, they won't backstab or break deals. America doesn't have a history of breaking deals and treaties and shit. Like, only Iran, even though Iran was created by America. The Iranian government now was created by Operation Ajax, and that, taking out a leader in Mossadegh who was, there was a modern Iran. Iran was modern in the, 1970s or whatever it is, 50s, 60s, when Operation Ajax happened, where they took him out because he wanted to get more profits from the oil industry that British Petroleum had built in Iran. British Petroleum was getting 80%, and he wanted a 50-50 split, which to me was an ethical deal, right? It could even be more. And then they got the CIA, British Petroleum, a British-owned company. Probably the Rothschilds have something to do with that, or whatever it is. Got the CIA to take the guy out, and now Iran's a mess. And that's not disputed. Even the CIA's admitted to that, right? And so, like, that's, you broke it, you bought it. But now you want to go in and break it again, right? Like, this is, The
question is, why do we think some deal is going to keep these people under control? It's not.
Okay, Iran hasn't done anything to America since the American hostage crisis, which was 100% understandable. America's fucked Iran over. What America did to Iran was they took down a democratically elected leader who was moderate, the kind of government they wish they had there, and put in a puppet, the Shah of Iran, who was bloodthirsty and horrible to the Iranian people, that led to what they have now. So America fucked their country over, which is just, everyone knows this is true, right? This is my last video clip here, then we're going to go to the State of the Union. So, this guy's, he's trying to tell everyone that you have to go to war with Iran. This guy's just, I guess this is a little life and liberty with Levin. He's trying to tell the American people who it's not in our best interest, it's not morally right, and Iran is not a legitimate threat to us, in any way, shape, or form. And all this stuff that they talk about, we saw this with Netanyahu saying, they have missiles, and Trump's going to say they have missiles. Like, it's fucking bullshit. They're not. They're years and years away from, and they're not even trying to. They have not yet created a nuclear weapon. So, first they had to do that. And if they did that, you could totally fucking bomb them and go to war with them then. You could wait till they do that, but they're never going to do that because they know they're fucked if they do that, right? And so they don't have the missile capacity to get to the United States. They don't do anything to threaten the United States. This is just an Israeli hard-on for Iran. And they're just pushing this. This guy's supposed to be American, but he's another Zionist piece of shit. All right, so let's go to the State of the Union. Okay, so everything we just saw in terms of Israel pushing for war with Iran, that was the big moment. And CNN, I tuned into them. I was going back and forth. I looked at these various things. I was watching basketball games. My wife dozed off, and then she woke up. We watched some of this together. And, the beginning of this thing, there's that guy, and I forget his name. He's the right-wing guy on CNN. And he was with whatever his name is. Van Jones, is it? And he was saying that he thought that Trump might announce that we're going to war with Iran. And he's a real Zionist shill. So, like, all these guys it was clear that's what they were pushing for. And Trump ends up not going that far, but basically, it's going to happen. Like, he didn't want to announce it here. I don't know what the thing was. But when they came in and all his cabinet members walked in, and I wanted to show that, but again, I watched this on CNN. I taped CNN. I chose them because of I wanted to see them focus on the Democrats more than Fox would do. And, I didn't want to deal with any Rachel Maddow stuff. So, and sometimes CNN's broadcast, what we watch on the TV, won't be the same as what they put up on YouTube. But hopefully it is, because there's comments I want to make about the people when they focus on the people. We certainly need to see Erika Kirk, which is going to happen. But when Trump walked in, it was like a parade of ghouls, like really bad. And these people who, it's like when you see a movie where people are going to the dark side, they're becoming zombies or vampires or whatever it is, and someone hasn't seen them in a while, and the person shows up. It's like you have a friend or somebody who's gone over to the dark side, is using drugs in a way that's really unhealthy, and you see them and you can't believe them, right? There was a woman, when I was in India, there was a woman who had cancer, and she was living at the ashram, and she was a little bit, overweight. Like, she was not, whatever it was. She was plump, right? Not, whatever you would kind of categorize that. She wasn't obese, but she was a little bit overweight, and she had cancer. Had cancer like 5 or 6 years, and I talked to her a number of times, and I think she was being propped up by. She was there. Master Chargy was still alive. The third master. And somehow she was being propped up, and she was Canadian. And my family and I came back, so I saw her probably. She came back to America before we did, I think. So I don't know the last time I saw her. But it was less than a year, I think, right? I'd see her fairly regularly. And we came back to America in May. And in June, Dodgy came, before I knew he was a piece of shit, came to California for a gathering. And I was at the gathering, and she walked up to me, and she was a skeleton. Like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I'm fucking really bad socially. And I'm always worried I'm going to say fucking something wrong, because I do. And I didn't know what to say. Like, I just looked at her. I was like, holy shit. I was trying not to react like, my God, you're going to die like tomorrow. Like, I can't believe you're still alive. Like, the same thing. I saw my dad. I hadn't seen him in about 4 or 5 years. Twice that happened, where he lost a lot of weight the first time. And then right before he died, maybe a year, my family and I went to see my mom, and he was, I guess my some except my dad, and he freaked me out like he was a walking skeleton. Like, he was just nothing left. So that's what these people look like. Like, they've gotten so much worse in just a year of being with Trump. Like, they're turning into monsters. And Trump himself, he's starting to break down, which I'll show you at the end of this thing. So Trump starts off here.
Congress and my fellow Americans. Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And
see, he's doing that a lot, you know.
You've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America.
So I just want to show you this beginning part because I would say half of this thing was him bragging about how great they've done. I mean, everything that he covers, there's a brag. If he's bragging about somebody, it's really a brag about him because he's the one who came in, you know, it's his administration. But mostly he's talking about himself. Like he brags in a way that's really fucking, I mean, it's just over the top. I mean, there should be no bragging or the bragging should be done subtly. But he just out and out fucking brags and says, like, we're the greatest, I'm the greatest president, or we've had the greatest economy, this is the best, this is that. I mean, then he starts off here. Woo! Thank you for your service. I fucking forgot it. I did it once and I forgot it again. I went out and I did things, and I just, but hopefully I can remember throughout this thing. Thank you for your service. I mean, immediately, if I just can't stick with it.
When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before and a turnaround for the ages. It is.
Thank you for your service. Okay. So the bragging goes on forever. And, you know, first he shits on Biden, which he's constantly doing. You know, because he wants to make sure everyone knows how bad it was that he got robbed of the election the second time. Which was, you know, I mean, if they did rob him, you know, it's hard to say. This thing's all fucking, I mean, you know, it's all contrived. It's all scripted. But, you know, it would be his own fault because he fucked the thing up with COVID. He fucked the election up, right? All these things. He's got a little fish boy going on here. I haven't done the fish boy thing in a while. But, you know, the bragging and the way that it's not true. Like, it's the opposite's happening. Like, if he was doing so great, he wouldn't be worried about the midterms and he's going to get hammered in and the rest of it. And he's just talking to his base at this point. But this speech is just like all these other speeches he gives where he shits on Biden. He brags about how he's the best. You know, the only difference is he brings in some sad sack motherfuckers, you know, or heroes or whatever it is, you know, to get applause like they always do. But usually it's a we thing. You know, it's supposed to be a we, even if the other side isn't. He's not even trying to do anything with the Democrats. Like, there's one thing I think they stand up and applaud for, which was a moment, his best moment, because he was announcing that they were going to create a law. There's already a law about this, but he wants to create another one, I guess, or enforce the one, or they haven't done it yet. And he wants bipartisan support for a law that would make insider trading for the Congress and these people illegal. And they showed Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, applauding. And he was like, I can't believe they stood up for that. And he said that a number of times. Or I can't believe these people aren't standing up. Like, he's obsessed with the Democrats not standing up. And when they do, he's like, I can't believe they're doing it, you know. And he goes, is Nancy Pelosi there? Because a bunch of people didn't show for the Democrats. I bet she isn't standing up, which is funny because she was one of the worst offenders of insider trading as a congressperson. That was his one kind of shining moment. But the rest, he just sucked. Okay, so he switched to C-SPAN. CNN's, they don't have the transcript, which I don't know is pretty gay. This one, I think, had the beginning, and I'll see if it does. And if it does, I'll just show you these ghouls coming in, these parade of fucking ghouls. We'll go back to that in a second. But I had 4 things I want to show you. And the first one was this part here.
off of food stamps.
Woo!
And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
So that's the big moment. I didn't hear that part, but I heard this part here. You know, they usually say that towards the end, you know, after they've talked about all these things. Woo! Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Woo! To Israel.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country.
Okay, so nobody would ever say that ever, right? No one ever says, hey, we're winning too much, right? The people think that. And I've talked about how most people are scared of the saint within them more than they're scared of the demon within. And most people are scared of the being successful than they are of failure. Failure is something you can control. Success is something that's out of control, right? But as we go through this, you know, is there anybody watching this? I mean, here with me now, but in general, you know, people, of course, there are some people who are, you know, oblivious to this Trump stuff. They still believe all this stuff. That thinks that anybody with any kind of a critical thinking skills, any of you guys that think that this could somehow end well, you know, this guy is the poster child for, you know, if Trump was in any movie or TV show as any character, a Democrat, a Republican, a king, you know, an emperor, or whatever it was, a business tycoon, you know, Trump as this character, you know, as he presents himself here, this guy would always be doomed. Like, he would never win. This guy is, you know, incapable of it. You know, he was a failure as a businessman. He went bankrupt 6 times. And he was, the only thing he was good at was convincing people to invest in him. He was good at getting other people's money, getting loans, and then, you know, somehow getting support and failing upwards. Like, he's great at failing upwards, but he's a failure. He's a loser. You know, he's the kind of guy that, you know, sometimes some of these videos will pop up and it'll be some guy talking shit in a way that's like dancing around, like before an MMA fight. And, you know, some guy was like, and then he gets in the ring and he's being all fucking cute with the other fighter and you know, walking around. And the guy, you know, the guy's getting knocked out because they wouldn't be showing you the video, right? But it's a guy who's, you know, who's bragging so much. And if you saw, even if a guy or a character was doing what Trump is doing, and the character was humble before, but then has success and they start doing what Trump is doing here, you know that the character is just about to have a fall. And when you look at these, you know, let's watch a little bit more of this, but when you look at these fucking ghouls and what Trump is, and you know that this is going to end badly. Like, there's just no other option. It has to. Like, if there's any kind of rhyme or reason or plan or karma or any of these things, our country has to be fucked right now because of Trump and because of how arrogant the Trumpers are. You know, how bad the Biden people were when the Biden was, you know, elected, how divided we are, and how, you know, how fucked everybody is and how much everybody sucks now and how everybody's getting worse. Like, it has to end. Like, you know, how much suckiness and arrogance and bragging and, you know, he's incompetent. He's a fucking boob. Like, this guy is incapable of anything. He's a moron, right? Fucking jerk off, right?
Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point,
like, these morons would stand up and applaud this piece of shit.
Here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
Okay, so Trump had nothing to do with this. I mean, the only thing is these guys were willing to come to the White House and they are, more conservative maybe, or whatever they are. They're more like Trump people. Like the rest of the professional teams won't come into the thing, right? And these guys aren't professional, but they're professional, most of them. I mean, they play in the NHL, but they're also playing in the Olympics. But, this whole thing, right? USA. Thank you for your service. USA. US gay. 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 I think I just pointed it. So I briefly turned on to Fox, and Jesse Waters was saying that how is the Democrats, like 80 of them aren't showing up, 80 of the senators, and there was some protests. Some guy left already. He protested initially. There's some people yelling back up at Trump. But he said, how can you not go and celebrate this amazing achievement by these, it's fucking Olympic is fucking dead and gay. I mean, everything is just, I used to really be into the Olympics. I look forward to it, watched it with my family. I watched a little bit of it, and mostly I was like hoping people would fall, like, I mean, apparently Lindsey Vaughn, who I don't know why she was skiing. I guess I thought she had career-ending injuries, but she came out and said that she went back to the Olympics only to fall again. I think she's had all this failure, and her leg was shattered so bad they thought they were going to have to cut it off, that they couldn't repair the bone. Like, and if it was anybody else, it was a normal person, they would just cut the leg off. Like it was, she's a famous athlete and whatever. But like, the whole thing just sucked. I mean, the parts that I saw, and it was just not really, it's just like so fucking jump the shark, right? I mean, everything's kind of got like that, and it's getting like that more and more. Woo! I guess it was a good game, like it was an overtime victory or something like that. People were talking about how great it was, but like, I didn't even know it was on, and like, I just don't care. But, like there's real problems going on. He's going to talk about war with Iran, right? That's the big moment everyone's waiting for.
Go ahead.
Like the USA chant has always been, I never liked it. Like I just thought it was like, there's just such a fuck you behind it. I mean, I kind of like it, different parts. And there's an arrogance to it, and there's reasons why people don't like Americans. And empires fail. And it's always the arrogance that gets you. Like it's the entitlements, the arrogance, the weakness. Like all the things that you see happening now with America is what happened in every empire that failed before, right?
That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up.
Again, the Democrats, the evil Democrats, right? The Democrats are denutted. They have nothing. Like, they don't have the House or the Senate. They can't do anything about Trump. He gets into it with the Supreme Court also. Like, about his fucking gay-ass tariffs. Here.
But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House.
Woo! All right, was there something I want to see here? I think he says they're getting some kind of medal here. Oh, this guy here gets a fucking...
They stood there and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off, do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this...
Thank you for your service.
this great hockey squad...
Hockey squad, the fucking squad, that hockey fucking squad, you know, kind of like a team...
will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important.
Like it always is, because everything I do is more important. It's me. Me.
That I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given, and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Woo! Connor, you fucking good guy. Yeah, so that thing. I don't know if there's anything else here he was going to say here.
For the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer...
So he starts bragging about, you know, the Olympics coming up and all this stuff. His hair is gone. Like, he is just aged. He is, like, fucking Skeletoring the shit out of this thing. You know, here he shits all over the Supreme Court here.
Deals are all done, and they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize...
That was the big story? I mean, the way he talks about himself, like fucking... You know, when you get older, you brag a lot less. You're less insecure, and you just, you know, whatever, you just... There's a humility that happens. You know, access to personality disorders, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, the one that's antisocial personality disorder, which is the old sociopath. And, you know, all these personality disorders get less. You know, people get usually better. You know, I mean, they get worse as they get older, but better in terms of these types of things. And then narcissism goes down. You just get less selfish. You know, you don't care about these things. You don't need to. You know, there's a period in your life where you need to prove yourself, and that period is when you're young as a person, as a kid. You know, you're trying to prove yourself, and you know, like you're trying to prove yourself against your older brother, or you prove yourself to your parents, or your, you know, whatever it is, high school and these things, and then, you know, through college in different ways, and then you're trying to prove yourself, and like maybe as a good parent, right, as you get older. You know, good provider, a good parent, whatever it is. You're trying to show everybody that you're not a piece of shit. You know, like, and you have things left over from your family and whatever it is. But as your testosterone level goes down and your emotional level goes down, and you've lived your life and you've taken your fucking lumps, and you get beat down a little bit, and just, you know, you mature and whatever it is, you know, you get less selfish. Now, if somebody's selfish as an old person, that means they were really selfish to start off with. And if they get more selfish as an old person, that's really fucked. If they get more narcissistic and more bragging and braggadocious, well, that's really fucked, right? Like, you know, there's something really wrong with you. Because, you know, Trump has, I mean, just on paper in terms of, you know, his successful TV show and, you know, he's not really a self-made billionaire, but, you know, he was a billionaire. You know, he's had success in his life, right? I mean, he's really kind of a failure and a piece of shit, and he kind of knows it. It's mostly fraudulent. but he's a wealthy man, and he fucking won president twice, like, and not even consecutively, right? And if, the rigging of the election is true, I mean, it's always true, 3 times, right? So, he's won all these people over. He's one of the most controversial presidents, and he loves attention, and he's been the center of attention in the globe. And certainly, this term, and certainly in America. And so all those things are things that he could look at as being successful. And, he has done some okay things as president, mostly not, but, whatever. But the guy is just so fucking wounded. Like, he's got to brag like this, right? Like, it's really bad.
Winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made. Right, Scott?
Like, she just looks... Now, she is a Republican that Trump nominated. This woman, I don't know who she is, but she's always up. These guys, they're not going to stand up because they're not supposed to be political. These 5 justices or 4. The other 5 aren't there. That's Kavanaugh, right? So this, I forget what her, Barrett, and this is whatever his name, but he's the John Roberts, and he was a Republican conservative. These are all these ghouls here, Trump's ghouls. She's the only liberal. And they're not loving what he's doing here. Like, he shouldn't be doing this, right? Because what they're supposed to rule is whether Trump had the authority or not to do these tariffs. Like, whether it's constitutional or not. And it certainly isn't. Like, there's supposed to be oversight, there's supposed to be checks and balances, and Trump wants to be a dictator. And this is really bad what he's doing. Like, this is stuff, like when people talk about Mussolini or Hitler, or, any number of, these bad kings, these powerful megalomaniacs that just want to do their own shit. This is what they're talking about, right? It's really fucking bad.
Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate...
So, see, his voice is going. Like, he just doesn't have strength anymore. It's hard to keep going, and it takes a lot of energy to do these things. Now, you could say maybe he's a little bit sick, but his voice was okay in the beginning. And by the end, he's, like, weak. And, like, you can see the age. Like, he's falling apart. Like, he's done. There's just going to be, like, any kind of illness he has, anything severe. I mean, whatever they can do is prop him up with these fucking ghoulish medicines that, keep you going even after your organs are failing and you're just a complete zombie ghoul sitting up there. But, any crisis he goes through, or when he loses the midterms, or any of these things, and, things don't go his way in the Iranian war, and, people start losing their shit, right? I mean, all these things that are about to happen, something's going to fucking smack him in the face. Like, he's going to be, he's a pussy, and he's a coward, and he's fucking scared of shit. And when he gets slapped in the face, like little Lord Fauntleroy, he's not going to be able to come back from that. Like, he's just going to cower and whatever it is. Just whine like he does about how, like he did about the election. The Biden thing, he just gets obsessive, and he just doesn't have much left in his tank. I mean, this is, like you can see it, just like with Biden. You saw what happened with Biden. Trump is now going into Biden land, right?
Fortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting...
Well, then why is our deficit going up at the same rate, right? So who's getting that money? Like, the Democrats are trying to put some bill out where American people get dividends from the tariffs, right? Where we get money back from the tariffs, which would be a great thing, but that ain't happening. Like, it's not going to pass. Who's getting this fucking money, right? If there's so much tariff money coming in, who's going to get it?
Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them will remain in place under fully...
So, he doesn't understand our government. Because let's say that was true, and it's not. And I mean, Trump is what he's done with Israel and what he's going to do with Iran now and all these other things. But let's say, he was able to stop wars with the terrorists. That still wouldn't justify breaking the rules, breaking the intent of the Constitution, giving him dictator-like powers, right? You can't do that, just like with the martial law. But Trump doesn't care about the Constitution or any of these other things. And he's always been narcissistic. It's always been about him. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else or how he leaves this place. He's not looking about, he wants his legacy to be great. But, he's just going to be a big fat diaper boy. Like, after he's done, the memes and all the stuff he's going to be savaged. Like, he'll go down as, like, the worst president in history, if there is any history left to write, because, the world's going to be fucked. Like, you're going to see at some point, you're going to be like, wow, this has got really bad. I think everyone can see it coming, right?
Approved and tested alternative legal statutes, and they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And
see how weak his voice is and how high it is? Time-tested and approved.
As time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
Woo! Yeah, it's not going to happen. And that would be great if it did. But, you're not bringing enough money now to get rid of the deficit. Let me go to that and then... Okay, so the tariff revenue, they have that now. This is put in, I guess Trump controls the clock, right? Here's the tax revenue here. Then there's the national debt, and it's just going up. Like, all these things are going up, right? They're not going down. This isn't reversing itself, right? These numbers are going up at the same rate as it did before. It's like $3 million a minute. It's like $1 million every 20 seconds. And so this is the tariff revenue. It's $374 billion, which, that's great. That's not nothing. But if they're going to give each American a dividend, that isn't shit. Like, isn't like maybe $100 a piece or something, right? And it certainly isn't putting a dent in the debt. And it's not going to replace the $5 trillion in tax revenue, because the tariffs are creating their own economic issues and hardships. And like, you're going to raise prices anyway. It causes prices to raise in various ways, right? All your products that you get, a lot of them are coming from countries that have, worse, the value of their currency is so much less than ours that they have cheap labor. They have like slave-like labor in China and these other countries. Like, we all know this, it's been fleshed out. And so, what he's saying here is just wrong. It's not a solution. It could do a little bit, like it could, help out, but, the debt is going up. It's not going down. And he doesn't give a shit about this. Like, he's done. Like, you look at him, he's talking in a weak voice. He's getting stiff. He's starting to lose his shit. And things are going to start going south. Like, he's fucked things up so bad, so quickly. But it was already fucked before he even got here. Before his first term. America has been fucked for a long time. Because of this, right? Not just this, the idea of a usury-based economy. A debt-based economy doesn't last, and it can't. And so, we've had some little minor recessions, but nothing that's been, we've never suffered the consequences from, this is a demonic economy, right? User economies, a debt-based economy is demonic. It goes against the natural order of things. It creates, something that's a negative in debt and turns it into wealth, right? The derivatives market and the rest of this. All right, so let's go back to it here. So then this was a watershed moment here.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Woo! Thank you for your service. Woo! Woo! Like, this one girl is by herself here. She's like on the other side of the Supreme Court. She's really enthusiastically supporting Trump. So he gets mad at the Democrats here. Or kind of, whatever. Look at him. Look at him. These motherfuckers. So this girl right here, she's separate from her herd over here, like all these Republicans. Thank you for your service. I mean, this applause, Jesus fucking Christ, right? You know, this is about the murders of American citizens and what went on in Minnesota. And Trump knows that that was fucked up. And he's got fucking retarded, whatever her name is, you know what I'm talking about. Kristi Noem. He's got all these people that are just horrible at their jobs and really bad policies, and he's a horrible leader. And so that shit that happened, the martial law, it's just all wrong. You know, and I've been talking about this forever. But he's got an attitude like he's done a great job here. And he's like, the Democrats are just, why would they applaud? Like, I mean, Jesus, sit the fuck down. Like, are you serious? Woo. This is the part I want to show you. This is going on forever. Woo! Woo! Right here, this girl right here. This fucking piece of shit. I don't know what that is.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up.
You should be ashamed
of yourself.
You know, all that stuff where shame, everyone knows your name, right? How dare you? And you should be ashamed of yourself, right? Oh, double dutch dare you, right? You know that fucking I play that meme so much. You know that stuff just. I don't want to hear shit from anybody like about how everyone else sucks. I mean, I want to hear it personally, and I don't want to hear people say you should be ashamed of yourself. Like I just, you know, like Trump is the epitome of shame. He is a piece of shit human being. Like he is the exact opposite of what a human being should be. Like this, you know, almost in every possible, and all these people are. They all suck, right? So don't like shame, you know, all this stuff. But I mean, he murdered American citizens. Like that was a fucked up thing that happened. And only his retards and his fucking dumb fuck people and these Republican kiss asses and, you know, who are all bending down on their knees and servicing Israel, we're going to get to in a moment here. But let's...
That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious...
So those are those two. This is the real squad over here. Remember these fucking horrible people. This woman from Minnesota. She's saying you murdered American citizens, and that's that.
Penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is what America's come down to, right? All right, so this was bad. So I got two more things to show you. I want to show you the end, just the brief, you know, the last part of Trump's speech. But Erica Kirk's coming next, and then this parade of fucking criers, right? Like they have their crying people. But before that, and after that, there's the Iran stuff. But here.
And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage.
Okay, so I was fast forwarding and I saw this girl She looks like Wednesday from the Addams Family, right? And she looks like she's being held hostage. But I fast forwarded and I was watching other stuff, and my wife woke back up. She was like going in and out of sleep as we were watching this. She was taking what we call a TV nap. And I went back to show her, I wanted to show her the shamed part. And then I said, well, let's watch this because this could be funny. And it is. So this person here.
She was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to...
Look, I mean, she is not having it. Like, she looks like she's being held hostage, right?
socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe.
What a piece of shit she is.
Isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home.
Confused Sage. She looks kind of pissed off now. She looks like she's been fucking somehow shanghaied or whatever.
After she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland, a left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University.
No way. So Liberty University, I hope they show her again.
Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
Look at her doing her clapping. Look at this fucking clapping. I mean, how is she going to... Now, I don't know how well it went for her in an all-boys, whatever, they put her in some treatment center or something like that. That had to suck, right? I don't know. I don't know if it sucked for her or not, but she looks like she's being held hostage. But she's going to Liberty University, which, you know, is right-wing Christian. I mean, so, look at her. Not... I mean, like, somebody help. Please help me. Look, and there's Erika Kirk right there. Look at this cunt. Right?
And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking?
Your great bravery. All right, so...
Speaking about things like this. 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents.
Okay, so, you know, there are a lot of things that are fucked up, though, bro. Okay, so he thanks Manlania, who looked very dudeish, and this fucking guy here, I don't know what's wrong with him.
I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4...
Looks like a cartoon character, like, you know. And this fucking ghoul up here, these guys, fucking this guy. I mean, holy shit, right?
Years, and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God.
Yeah, not in a good way, bro.
Tremendous renewal.
Because it's political, right? Like, you know, I would be happy with any surge in religion. You know how I feel about religion, but, you know, where people are actually thinking about God despite how bad their religion sucks is a good thing. But when it becomes political, it's something else, right? It becomes, you know, it's not about God, it's about politics. It's like Santa Claus is not about Jesus, right? Santa Claus and Christmas isn't about Jesus, and this new renewal is about politics. This is where they're going to show Erika Kirk. Look at him. He's so downtrodden, this guy. Like, this is a good thing he's saying, and he's, you know, I mean, he knows he's going to get torched in the midterms, like it's over. And like, you know, and then things are going to get shitty for him.
This is especially true among...
Some guy was up there throwing praise hands. I didn't get it in time. Thank you for your service.
Young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man.
Woo. Okay, look, so now she's got to start crying. So there's going to be 3 people in a row that have to start crying on cue. These are all people who lost somebody, and that sucks. You know, everyone has loved ones that are going to die at some point. It's a private matter, and doesn't need to be in this gaudy bullshit fucking whatever it is. She's gonna mouth the words here. I miss you. You know, this was there was a bunch of memes I didn't show you as I was scrolling through the stuff at where I was at the doctor's office, and fuck, and there's like memes of her like Travis Scotting it out of the bottom of the stage. You know how they do that thing with that guy Psy, Gangnam Style. I've seen them do it. They have like a piston under the stage and it propels you. And she was doing some kind of breakdancing. They AI'd it. There's a bunch of things like this. But they're trying to rebrand her at a time where, holy fuck, things have gone south for her, right? She's going to mouth the words, "I miss you." I miss you. I miss you. And look at this fucking cunt here. Like, these fucking people. Who's this dude? Who's that fucking dude right there? All right. So now she's got to cry on cue, but everyone's mocked the shit out of her. So, like, where does she go with it? She has to cry.
So last year,
thank you. She said thank you. Says this dude just said something.
Was violently murdered by an assassin. And
oh, look, she smiles here. My wife saw this thing. Where am I? 27. Here we go. 27. Here we go. Right here.
Erika, please stand.
Oh, wait. Thick-fisted. Fuck. Oh. This thing's so long, it's hard for me to get. Right, here we go.
Great man.
When he says he was murdered by assassin, she's going to smile right here.
So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin.
She gave a smile at that person, but she wasn't paying attention to what he was saying.
And martyred, really martyred for his beliefs.
No, he wasn't. It was a fucking furry guy, right? Right? Like, that's not being martyred. That's a crazy fuck. Like, you can't be martyred by a crazy fuck that loves gay furries, right? Like, you can't. That can't really be a martyrdom.
His wonderful wife, Erika, is with us tonight. Erika, please stand.
She's already standing. Thank you. Thank you. I miss you. She said, I miss you. I miss you. She touched her heart. Look at her. Look at her fucking. I'm so somber. Okay, I can't. I can't help it anymore. It's just I'm so sad. Woo. Woo. Look at Charlie. They're all yelling Charlie. Oh, it's so. I mean, I just have to cry organically. It's not. I love you. She said. That isn't fake at all. Thank you, Erika. So that was bad. Like, just she can't. I mean, she's so fucked, right? And so, like, again, she hasn't cried now for weeks, for months. She's given up on the crying thing that she did. Her grief tour, her grifting grief tour. And now she has to cry. Like, she's being brought back out. She's been in hiding. She's getting the fucking shit kicked out of her. Candace has finally, done what she wanted to do all along and make this about Erika and go after her. That whole thing.
In Charlie's memory.
Oh, there she goes. She got it.
To all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation.
Where's your snot rag?
Under God.
Where's your snot
and
rag?
We must totally reject political violence of any kind.
Except when it's against the left, right? Except when you have like fucking ICE guys killing fucking protesters, like that kind of thing. That can't, those guys can walk. Woo! Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, Erika. And Charlie. Thank you for your service, Charlie.
We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible.
No one thought possible. No one's ever seen these levels. Like, I mean, there's just crazy levels.
Really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again.
Fuck those guys. I mean, the fucking guys, man. And, I mean, that calls for political violence, right, bro? Right? Like, fucking.
We're honored to be joined tonight by
this piece of shit.
A woman who's been through hell.
This woman's been through hell. This fucking woman. I mean, not Erika. Erika's a cunt, but this woman, she's been through hell.
Yeah, Zaretska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful.
So beautiful. Her daughter was fucking amazing. Amazing, beautiful girl. I mean, she could have been in Epstein's stable. I mean, just an amazing, beautiful girl.
Beautiful young woman.
Just beautiful young woman. Like, he likes the men, but he says beautiful, but he likes the boys.
Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte?
What's going on with Charlotte? Fucking Charlotte, man. What's going on with those Hornets?
Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested.
You know, like, look at this. Look, so she's done crying, right? But now she's going to cry for her because, you know, I mean, like, this woman's really crying. Like, this, you know, these people, fuck, you know, they lost their daughter. And, like, to roll them fucking back out as a political thing to shit on Democrats and their fucking liberal judges, to roll these people out for political purposes that has nothing to do with anything. And the fact that these, you know, the whole Ukraine thing is a whole other thing. And to stick her next to this fucking cunt, right? And to say, all right, you guys are our crying brigade. We expect tears. We expect waterworks from you fucking guys.
Arrested over a dozen
It's just so fucking gross. Like, it's fucking
times and was released through no cash bail.
no cash bail. Cry, motherfucker, cry. Show how sorry you are that this no cash bail thing happened.
Stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body.
Yeah, you got to hear that? Do you think this is good for her? I mean, this cunt, she's done crying. She doesn't know she's still on camera.
No one will ever forget there were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had
Look
escaped
at Erika, is in her neck.
a brutal war
Look.
only to be slain
Oh,
by...
wait, can they see me? I better start crying again. Fuck, what am I supposed to do here? Fuck, what am I supposed to do for fucking Erika? This poor woman. She's fucking next to this fucking Jezebel.
A hardened criminal set free to kill in America came in through open borders.
He's getting as much out of it. He can much shitting on the fucking Democrats and Joe Biden as he can. The fucking liberal judges, no cash bail, open borders. He's fucking do all the shit, right?
Mrs. Zaretsky, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
You mean you haven't caught the fucking guy yet? Holy shit. Woo! Woo! Look at Erika. Erika's not crying. She's sniffling. I don't know what to do here, Erika. Oh, well, just bless you. She said, bless you. Fucking Erika made it back into the frame. Bless you. Look at Erika. Look at Erika. They probably put her next to her, say, all right, Erika, fucking try to redeem yourself. And she's just so, she comes off as so fucking fake. This woman wants no part of this cunt, right? Give her some not rag. Don't give Erika fucking shit, though. Make sure you don't give her any. Why are you crying, Erika? Oh, Erika's crying now. Finally, she's crying. You can't take the pain anymore.
How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation.
How do you not stand, you motherfuckers? How do you not stand? Fucking shame on you, motherfuckers. I mean, don't you see the way I'm exploiting this woman's pain of losing her daughter? And you guys aren't standing for that? The way I'm exploiting it and shitting all over you and Joe Biden and your fucking failed policies? Aren't you fucking, don't you guys understand? Shame on you.
To ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put...
Like, how does America I mean, how do we last this fucking long? Right? Like, we're so fucking bad. This is so gaudy, it's so fake, so fucking pretentious. I mean, so evil and so fucking egotistical and all this stuff. I mean, it's come to this, but it's never been good. I've watched this every year going, oh my God, this is so fucking bad. Like I don't watch it every year, but when I've watched it, I can't believe that this is our country, even when I was younger. And it's just gotten worse over the years to where it's just a fucking joke, right?
Behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there.
Okay, so these two guys, they're getting up and applauding, but fucking, they know that Trump's an Epstein. They're applauding for a guy who's, been Epsteined, right? These are two of the, the ones that went and turned on Trump over Epstein.
Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success.
What about Charlotte? Fucking Charlotte. What the fuck's going on there?
New Orleans, Louisiana, big success.
Well, you're just so successful, bro. I mean, it's amazing how everything that you talk about is you're just like successful.
and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C.
We just got fucking National Guard out there cracking heads, fucking violating posse comitatus. Other than that, it's fucking...
That happened. In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago.
Crazy. It's just nuts. All right, so these two sad sack motherfuckers, they're next. You're next on the crying tour.
They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the
Democrats are sick people. They don't like to hear that they're sick people.
brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her.
Their parents are going to
But
lose
the
their
very
shit
next
here.
day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan.
How did that guy get here? For fucking Joe Biden?
Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick.
He traveled all the way from Afghanistan because he didn't like people wearing their uniform? Or is that what happened? Like, how do you know what happened, bro?
And deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Eva Lee. Your daughter
This is Eva Lee.
was a true
That's scary.
American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her.
Stand up, motherfuckers. Why are you guys not fucking crying? Come on, we expected water work. We flew all the way out here from East Buttfuck fucking Tennessee or whatever it is. Holy shit, right? It's just so fucking gross. You know, I mean, to do these things just to shit all over the Democrats. So, all right, let's go to Iran here. We're pretty close to eating dinner, so I'm not going to get through all this tonight, but who cares? It's not going to affect you. So my voice might change in the next, well, we'll see here what happens.
Soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president. Would have never.
He had to get to see all these things he's been saying in these stump speeches for the last 3 years, especially the last, when he was campaigning, and then all the other things he says regularly and he tweets about. He's obsessed with these things, that he got fucked on the election, and if he didn't get fucked, everything would be better and different, and that war would never have happened. Like, he says it over and over again. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, bro. I mean, like, at some point, you have to move on. But he's obsessed with these things, and he's losing his shit, right? So it's a bad combination.
Happen. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer.
Midnight Hammer. Remember this piece of shit here? This drunken, fucking cheating, fucking poor character piece of shit National Guardsman who was put in a position he can't handle. And he leaked all kinds of classified information. This fucking cunt here who hid the Epstein files, and this dumb motherfucker here, and this ghoul here, and these other fucking ghouls, and all these pieces of shit. Right? Like, they're just getting worse. So Trump just said obliterate. He that's what he said that night. Now, obliterate, you know what obliterate means, right? It means obliterate, like there's nothing left. Like, then there was a lot of people saying, and including Israel, that said, well, you didn't get all of it because, we don't, and Trump was trying to get out. Like, Trump was saying, oh, we obliterated it, we're done. All right, Israel, get off my back. And then he was receiving heat from Charlie Kirk, who was bummed about this fucking bullshit war. and people like Tucker Carlson that try to talk them out of the ground troops. And so that all shit happens. I think Tucker Carlson just went in because apparently, whatever her name is, Laura Loomer wrote a post about how Tucker Carlson went in to grovel for Trump, but he's probably trying to talk him out of this Iranian bullshit, the whole Israel thing. And so, there's 20% approval for this war. Like, nobody fucking wants this war. But Trump is, going to get on his knees and service Israel here. But he said obliterate. So that was, less than a year ago, right? He obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Woo! Thank you for your service. Woo! Thank you guys for your service. Thank this fucking crazy, eyelash lady crazy.
For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs.
What's called roadside bombs. That's what they're called, the roadside bombs.
The kings of the roadside bombs.
They're the kings of it. Iran is the kings of the roadside bombs.
And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term.
That's what I did. I did that. I went in there and I fucking took him out. No, I was just sitting there like I just told them to take him out, and that's about all I said. Or they said, hey, can we take him out? And I said, yes. And then these other guys did all the work and the planning. And I sat in a room, and they came out and talked about it and said, oh, my God, Soleimani, he died like a dog. And I said, that shit, remember that?
Huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb.
He was the father of the roadside bomb, like I'm the father of vaccine, like that kind of thing? Woo! You took him out. Woo! I took him out. Why are the Democrats applauding?
Over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country.
In their own country. See, his voice is so weak and high. He's getting like Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden had his yelly voice, his Dark Brandon voice, like he'd get angry. Hey, you fucking get off my lawn. And then the rest of it, he'd just start mumbling more and more and get softer and softer. That's what Trump's doing here.
They shot him and hung him.
And hung him.
We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people.
Some terrible people. Like you have no testosterone left, bro?
Already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build...
You even lift, bro?
missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
Okay, so I fucked that up, but thank you for your service. So he went from 20, here we go, 23, what is it? All right, we'll go back to this part. He went from saying obliterate to this.
With the threat of serious violence, but this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular...
Okay, so all that's bullshit, right? Because you either obliterated them or you didn't. But you didn't obliterate them, but you're still fucking claiming they did. But now you're saying they're building missiles that can reach America. They have no interest in this because they never have. They could have, Israel said that there have been 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb, weapons for, 50, 60 years. Like, it's joked about that it was in the fucking Talmud, right? Like, that Iran, before it was Iran, was Persia. They were only 2 weeks away. And now they're a week away, and they're building these missiles, and they're no threat to us, not whatsoever. And so he's a lying sack of shit. And he's, it's going to happen because he's being pressured. And it's going to be probably ground forces, and it's going to probably result in World War III. And this is fucking the end. And this fucking non-testosterone, high-voice motherfucker is bringing in that fucking Apocalaughs right now in front of your fucking faces with Erika J. Kirk fake crying in the audience and smelling like sulfur. So, all right, I'll come back to this tomorrow, I think. I just ate dinner, and me and my wife watched some TV. I want to finish this thing up. So in my lifetime, the Vietnam War was going on. My brother went to Vietnam, right? I talked about that when I was 2. It was over when I was, I don't know, 7, 8, whatever it was. Like, I didn't really know much about the Vietnam War. And that really soured Americans towards war. There's a lot of protests. My brother said that when he came back from, when some guy came back from Vietnam, he got off a plane and then somebody shot him, like one of these hippies. And I don't know if that was some bullshit, false flag kind of thing or whatever, provoke. But, they heard about it, the soldiers, and they were like, they're there. And my brother was drafted. A lot of them were drafted, and, they didn't really want to be there anyway. And, to think that they were doing this and there was no support for the American public. And there was no real reason to be in Vietnam, right? Like, Vietnam was a war against communism that had nothing to do with America. Like, Vietnam had zero threat against America. My brother guarded poppy fields for the CIA. They're just like in Afghanistan. The CIA was guarding these poppy fields because they were, there's an opioid and opioid. Years ago on Facebook, one of my Sajmarg people, non-truther people, asked a question: if war was about oil in Iraq, what was war about in Afghanistan? And all these, people gave their stupid opinions, that were, based in mainstream bullshit. I said, opium, a gram of opium is worth basically what a barrel of oil is, right? And so people think about oil, that's, as a profit. You go to war for oil, but you would really go to war for opium. It's far more profitable, easier to move, easier to smuggle into a country and these things, and it's addictive. Like, oil's a necessity, but opium's addictive. And so there's all those things. But the reality is the American public was growing tired of wars, right? Like, there was a big kind of enthusiasm behind World War II, but Vietnam just made war like non-acceptable. But then the 9/11 shit happened, and there's all these wars. Again, people bought into it and there was enthusiasm, but they had to do something to attack us. So, I don't know if they have some false flag thing coming up here in America that Iran could do to, that they could say Iran did. But other than that, I don't see how, unless they just say fuck you to the American people, that they just go to war, right? I mean, after, Trump was supposed to be a non-war president, I mean, his first term, the best thing he did was that he didn't do any military action. He stopped all that stuff. He stopped all that ISIS bullshit. And so, that made his presidency kind of good. The economy was okay. He was funny. He was not presidential, and that was pretty cool. But then he got completely obliterated on COVID, and then all that other shit happened. And he flamed out with the Operation Warp Speed and the January 6th stuff in the election, all the stuff that he failed at, right? But it's not that easy to sell the war to a country that, that doesn't have any real way of threatening us. And people do not like Israel now. I mean, I don't know if it's 50-50 yet, or I don't know where we are as a country, but, most of the youth is against Israel, and they're the ones who have to go and fight this fucking thing, right? And so him coming in with this bullshit stuff, contradicting himself, saying, we obliterated their nuclear program, but guess what? They have missiles that can reach America. They're only a couple weeks away, right?
Nuclear weapons, yet they continue starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again. And at this moment...
they didn't start all over because they never got a nuclear weapon. You can't fucking obliterate somebody who doesn't have a nuclear weapon for having a nuclear weapon. Like, because Israel says they have the potential to do it, right?
And again, pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference...
Those secret words, we'll never hear them. Why wouldn't they just say that? Why wouldn't they just say we'll never have a nuclear weapon, right? Why wouldn't they just say it? Like, or why then wouldn't they just fucking make one and then have it, and then it'd be like, we're ready to drop one, and like then all these countries, it would be wise for every country to have a nuclear weapon. I mean, it wouldn't be wise on a spiritual level, but in terms of the countries that do have nuclear weapons, you can't fuck with them, right? Because with all the stuff that they can't do, that Americans have these intercontinental ballistic weapons, they still have a nuclear weapon, in which, it makes a big deal. Like Gaddafi gave up his weapons of mass destruction like an idiot, or not like an idiot, like he was trying to, be cooperative. And look at, they killed the guy, right? They sodomized him with a sword. They sent in their asset ISIS in there to kill the guy, right? So.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let...
So listen to it. Let's go like, oh, you taking estrogen, bro? Bro, listen to the way he delivers this thing. 125. Yeah. Look at this fucking girl.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let...
He sounds like a fucking girl, eh?
that happen.
Yeah, they're not getting one. Like, if you obliterated their nuclear program, they didn't build it back in fucking 9 months. Jesus Christ. You think that they could build it all back? So you didn't obliterate it. So you lied, you piece of shit. And now Israel's telling you got to fucking fight them again, and you're lying about this. This has nothing to do with their threatening America. Saying death to America is not a reason to go to war, right? Jesus fucking Christ. His girly voice now.
And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term.
Did you? Thank you for your service.
We're going to continue to do so.
Thank you for your motherfucking service.
Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together.
Together,
it's really called peace through strength, and
it's got peace through strength. It's strength.
Very, very effective.
Very effective. All right, so I think we're going to war with Iran. I think Israel's ordered him. I think they own him. Whether it's Jeffrey Epstein stuff, whatever way Israel owns Trump. Trump has never denied them anything, and he's, there's no reason to go back in. And, I just got to, YouTube, you can somehow leave messages, like you can put out a message. I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure it's not that hard. And Tucker Carlson put out a message saying that when he went to interview, and I'll read this tomorrow, for my video tomorrow, but when he went to interview, that guy from fucking... the ambassador to Israel. I'm a little bit groggy now, Mike Huckabee. When he went to interview him, they were leaving and they were detained, and his producers were grilled, and I'll read the whole thing. It's pretty bad. At least what he's saying happened. And Mike Huckabee didn't say shit, but, he's not working for... if American citizens are being held against their will in a foreign country, interrogated, for journalism, then, the ambassador should go in there. American Trump should say, what the fuck you guys doing, right? But Israel owns America so much, and that's what's happened here. All right, so let's go to the end of this thing here. Here we go, right here. He gets really weak voice here.
That began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns.
He's crumbling. I don't know if people are commenting this. I don't know how many people saw this, but the guy's voice is high like Mickey fucking Mouse, and like he's got no fucking bass in his voice at all, and he sounds weak. His voice sounds weak and thin, and his expression, his shoulders and things. I mean, he's definitely he's not got much left in him. I mean, they used to give Joe Biden those talkie pills, right, or whatever it was, but like Trump is, I don't know, he's barely hanging on here.
The heart of every American patriot, and our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Okay, so that was just, it's always sucky. It's always like, as a little kid, I'm like, oh, these people are fucked. That this is like, this is weird. Like, it's fucking immature and weird and like unevolved, and like, it's just performative and it's so fake, fucking whatever. They're just all liar and pieces of shit, just scum. But it's just gotten worse and worse over the years. Joe Biden, of course, he could barely fucking hold a thought together. His, he had Parkinson's, it's fallen apart, mentally and decrepit, and all the stuff. He could barely walk, his gait. And Trump is now falling apart, but he's also a fuck person, really deranged and damaged person. And he's, got full authority, and he's somehow worked this thing where he's, got this period of time between now and when the midterms happen. If the midterms happen, he wouldn't be able to go to war with Iran. And that, once the Democrats seize control of everything. And, I think they're all formulating a plan how to get rid of the guy. Any day Epstein news breaks. I mean, Trump is on fucking thin ice. And so, like I said before, Bibi, Netanyahu, Israel has got to do their best. Zionists have to do their best now to get this stuff to happen, or it's never going to happen. This is it for them. America's going to be, at some point when these kids will grow up, these right and left kids who are these, left and right kids who are all anti-Israel, and when they become, they're in their 20s and 30s, and they're the power, that's the youth, when they're young adults who are the people that really generate everything. And there's going to be no fucking support for Israel. So it's like now or never. And they might as well use America while they still can. So, this is happening. Okay, so I just went shopping, and I had these thoughts. And, I'm sure I'm going to want to say something, in the voiceover, maybe to wrap up whatever I'm talking about. I'll get back to that in a moment here with, with Trump's we'll see. Well, sometimes I go to a voiceover after I'm done with the video clips, but we'll see what happens. But I wanted to talk about, a couple of signs of the Apocalaughs that I saw to do with sports. And, if you're not into sports, you're like, well, whatever, this is, sports is silly, whatever, people who are not into sports, which, sports are goofy and way too much emphasis of our society is put on sports. But it's a, it's a way to control the aggression of the masses. I mean, there's reasons for sports being there, right? Because human beings have, sports are like a substitute for war, right? So I heard something Stephen A. Smith said yesterday, and I saw, ESPN has these contract with the WWE. So let's go with the Stephen A. Smith thing first. So there's a basketball player named Darren Peterson who is projected to be the number 1 or number 2 pick in a very loaded NBA draft, where all these NBA teams, like a third of them, are purposely losing. What they're doing with is called tanking, to get a shot at these top 5-6 players. Like, all of them are potentially, could have a high upside franchise cornerstone. And Darren Peterson was long rumored to be the number 1 pick. There's another guy named AJ DeBonsa who is equally as talented, and it's good. It's between these two guys. And there's other great players, right? And Darren Peterson, I saw a little of a game between him and A.J. DeBonsa. Darren Peterson plays for Kansas, and A.J. DeBonsa plays for Brigham Young, I think. Utah something. Brigham Young. I don't know. Some school in Utah. And I saw some of the game, and Darren Peterson looked really good. Like, I hadn't seen him before, and I'd heard some of these names. But I don't really watch college basketball. But the guy's been hurt a lot. And apparently he's taken himself out of a game. He's had issues with cramping, and he didn't play in the game because of the flu. And this, they have the other part about sports is they just love drama. It's like soap opera for men, and wrestling, WWE even more so, right? They like the drama, the soap opera aspect. The men claim they don't, but this is like fucking Days of Our Lives for men, right? So, and they were talking about this kid and saying that he is, no one should take him number one because he doesn't want to play basketball. And so, he's soft, or he's taking himself out of games, or, there's other kind of rumors going around, but a bunch of stuff. I saw some stories. I didn't really, look into it, but I was eating or something that was on, and Stephen A. Smith started talking about it. I don't like Stephen A. Smith. I find it hard to listen to him. But he was talking directly to A.J. DeMonson. He said something that was interesting and scary. He said that these NBA teams and the scouting aspect of them, they will spy on these kids to such a degree that they will find people in their circles, like their friends and their family, and pay them off to give them updates and find out what kind of person they are. They know everything about them, know what kind of girls they like, whether they do drugs or not. They find out everything about them. They spy on these kids to a degree. Any of these, these top draft pick kids, they want to know everything about them. And, the fact that they're paying off family members to keep tabs on them and, probably bugging their house and, who God knows what, maybe hiring people just to surveil them. And then, of course, digital surveillance. It's pretty fucked. Like, that's where we're at as a society right now, right? Where everything is so controlled. Like, they don't want to invest in anything or anybody. Big investment into these. This is like a potential, like these draft picks are worth $100 million. Like, if they were going to sell one of these top draft picks to another team, it'd be worth $100 million, even more. I mean, they could sell it for $100 million right now to multiple other teams, right? To sell their pick. People who end up in the top 3 or 4 of these, the draft 5, I don't know. And so, but I thought about that quite a bit. Like, we all know about the surveillance state, but think about that, right? So you're like an 18-year-old kid. Think about all the bad things and stupid shit you did while you were in college. Stephen A. Smith inferred that he didn't get this NIL money, and that was part of the narrative. They're now paying college basketball players, college athletes, and they should, because college athletes bring in millions of dollars to the school, and oftentimes don't really, their education isn't anything. Like, they get a shitty education, right? They're not, academic. They're not going to get some white-collar job after, from their education. They're just there to play sports, right? Sometimes a lot of these guys are only going to leave after 1 or 2 years in school. They're one and dones, right? Especially these guys. They're going to play one season. So they're not getting a college education out of this thing, right? They're getting, whatever their pro career is going to be. And there was rumors that this guy thought he deserved more money, and so he was dogging it. And Stephen A. Smith was like, well, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll say it anyway because I'm a fucking prick and I don't mind destroying an 18-year-old's repetition. That's kind of his specialty. So, but, there's this thing. And I was thinking about this also with the WWE and betting. Now, first of all, to understand how bad it's gotten, that during the broadcasts where they do pundit, First Take and things like this, and also during the live games, the announcers are talking about odds that you can bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook and these other big ones, right? Even ESPN has their own betting online betting activity, and they're it's dominating sports right now. Now, this was something where they have former players coming out and telling you the bets and giving their picks, and it's a whole thing. Like, it's a subculture within the sports world, and it's much more. There's much more money in the betting than there is in the games themselves. 10 years ago, I talked about this, how the NFL was a $20 billion industry, and the betting on the NFL was an $90 billion industry. So it was worth 4 times what the sports itself is. So if you're going to talk about rigging something, if gambling on something is much more profitable than the thing itself, then that thing is controlled, right? And, Pete Rose, this famous baseball player, was banned and, demonized for years. And now, basically you should get an apology from everybody, because of what's happened now and the degradation of the sports. Once you bring in gambling there's there's no way back. But on top of that, and I came home, I had left the TV on, and it was on one of these shows, maybe First Take, I don't know. When I went shopping, and Dusty Rose's son, Cody Rose, is it? I saw him on some of these Netflix docs, was on, and they were talking about these guys being retired. They were talking about like it was a real fucking sport. And whether you like sports or not, WWE is now, Trump is the WWE president. And he acts, and what he did last night in the State of the Union was a WWE performance. It's like Vince McMahon got up there and delivered the State of the Union. He did this with his fake assassination attempt and the blood, the ketchup gate, all this stuff. I talked about that. Like before I even knew he had a relationship with Vince McMahon, he's had a relationship with all these people. Dana White came on after Hulk Hogan and introduced him. Hulk Hogan was one of the featured people, of course, Kid Rock. And there's all this performative bullshit, and Trump coming on with that maxi pad on his ear. And no matter what you believe about Trump, if you're still a dumb fuck enough to not believe that was fake, God help you, and you're certainly not a truther at this point. But if, you still believe it was real, we know for a fact that he didn't need the maxi pad because his ear stopped bleeding immediately. His doctor said it was a cut smaller than 2 centimeters and he didn't need stitches. And so when you don't need stitches, you don't even need a fucking Band-Aid, especially on your ear. Nothing's going to get into it. It scabs up almost immediately. And so he didn't even, he was shot on Saturday, and he goes out, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday, and then he shows up for an interview the next day with a smaller bandage, on Fox News. And he didn't need that bandage either, right? And then he showed up on Joe Rogan with no physical damage, no scar, nothing you could even see. And so that part is all fake. The bandages were all fake. Those were all props. And so if you're going to lie about one thing, you're going to lie about everything, right? So you made that thing fake. I mean, we're talking about assassination on his life, which would be a serious thing, assassination on a former president who is now the current president, a guy who is going to be elected. I mean, that would have changed history. Like this, think about how devastating JFK's murder was. If you understand what people went through at that time, like I was born the year after that happened. And so it affects the country in ways that, people can't even really explain who didn't live through it, right? But it's there. And that would have now with social media and Trump being who he was, it's beyond comprehension what that would have done if Trump was actually killed. I mean, look at what Charlie Kirk was, and Charlie Kirk was nobody. I mean, to have Trump murdered on camera that way, like that whole thing. And so it's a serious thing. And so if you're going to put fake bandages on, put a maxi pad on your ear when the thing's not even fucking cut or bleeding, it's already healed, just because, you don't want to go out there and people go, where the fuck is, why isn't there a chunk out of your ear? You're shot in the ear, you lying sack of shit. And so it was also a cover-up, right? And so, that there's lying. There's already, that's an admission of lying. Like, like when he went on Joe Rogan to show there's no scar, then why the fuck did you need a maxi pad? Like those maxi pad things you would put on a big gauze pad. The only reason you put that on is to cover something up or to stop excessive bleeding, right? Like, they should have made that thing get drip with blood during the thing, like the cut was still fucking oozing blood 5 days later. But it wasn't. So what are you doing? You're protecting it from what, It's just a thing. They say, let's put this on there because, you didn't really get shot, so we got to pretend, we don't want people to see your fucking ear. If you go to my playlist, right, I was saying, let's see what happens when he takes that bandage off. Like I kept on saying it. Let's see what it looks like. And if he was, he was committed to his role, he would have cut off a little piece of his ear. They would have just done it like an ear piercing. It would have hurt a little bit, right? But, they cut off just a little chunk that made it look like a bullet hit it. He'd have this little small thing, and everyone would see it, and it looked like he was a badass. And remember how people were all calling him a badass for pumping his fist. Even Cenk Iyengar and some of these liberal dope fucks, none of them willing to call a fake, were fucking praising it, the fucking moronic thing. It was so WWE. And so now ESPN is running WWE like it's real sports, and they interview these guys, and they bring them on their shows, and they pretend it's like a real fucking thing, right? And it's, it's 100% staged. So if they're treating that as 100% staged, and they're, they're now all into the gambling aspect, then all sports are in question, which they already were, but now even more so, right? And it shows you how fucked the system is. Like, it's a huge degradation from what I grew up with and what many of us grew up with. Like, you can see it's, everything is so controlled right now. And there's nothing left to chance. I mean, that's how structured our society. And if you looked at my book, The Choice, I talk about this extensively, how they have to control everything or the lies unfold, the lies evaporate, right? You have to repeat the lies over and over again and control every aspect of these stories because the lies want to get exposed. And now that there's just this wave of truth coming through that's beyond the ability for them to control, there's desperation time. And the only thing left to do is break the fucking system and send everybody scattering in panic, right? And so this is where the war with Iran comes in. All right, so that's what I want to say. I'll get back to this. We'll see where I go from here. I'm gonna make the rest of the clips. I haven't done that yet. It's only I just got back. So, anyways, we'll continue on from here. Okay, so I started this voiceover this morning. I was going to add some comments and other shit. I don't even know what I was going to say. Really, there's not much left over. It's like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm just ready to shut this down. This video is going to be really long anyway. So, I was going to add a voiceover from my cleaning thing that I'm doing, the meditation, but it's just going to make this video too long. And really, that's going to be available on the Gratefullness meditation, and people want to listen to that voiceover. So, like, either we're going to go to war with Iran or not. And like I said, Israel has not much time left with America, like as America, to be a parasite on America, because at some point there's going to be enough pushback where it's going to be an issue, right? And when the media has forced to ask questions, and they don't even have to really, because the alternative media has already turned on Israel. So, the organic people and the people that get the most kind of love at this point, and it's both on the left and the right, and all that stuff. And so, this is it. The window of a blank check window from Donald Trump, the president they fucking completely own, is closing, and they have whatever period of time's left. He might kick the bucket any second. I mean, whatever J.D. Vance would do in terms of this, thing with Iran. And so it just seems like, there's something hanging over our heads, and war with Iran is inevitable, and that leading to something even fucking worse. And now we can see it unfolding. And so, there's this big Whispers of the Brighter World prophecy about 25 years to the day it'll be this Saturday. And so we'll see if something happens then or not, or around that time. And, it means it's the beginning of the end, right? For what's, the collapse of our society and the, all that goes with it. Anyways, with those cheery thoughts, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. Spa Romano, definitely reporting for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.